Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis. Another edition of Comic Roundtable, and we got a full crew tonight. No Jen, but that's okay. Somebody will hold down the fort for her. I don't know, but we're gonna talk some comics. With me tonight, I have the ever esteemed Brandon Mackhammer. How's it going, sir?
I don't think I've ever been called that before, but I'll take it.
Okay, right on. And next to him we have CDC.
How's it going, everybody?
And we have Ryan back with us. Second time back for Ryan.
Hello.
And of course Mike, who's no longer out in the cow fields listening to the wonderful music, is back. How's it going, Mike?
Excellent. And I do have the invisible jet out in my front yard. Please drive by and see it.
Nice. Nice.
I'd probably crash into it.
Yeah, so you don't crash into it.
I don't want to get off topic early, but there was that Bond film where he gets the invisible car, and I thought that was the dumbest thing. I forget which one that is.
Die Another Day. That was the worst. That was the worst
I'm thinking
movie.
that you get in a wreck in 2 seconds, but all right.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so we decided off air that we were going to talk DC Comics first. Excuse me. So let's just jump right into DC books. What do we want to start out with? Of course, there are a couple Rebirth books, right?
All right.
We want to start with those?
The Squad, yeah.
Okay. Suicide Squad, new Suicide Squad, issue number 21.
Yeah. It's great. I think this is a great way to end a book. So I was really happy with this being the way we end with Juan Ferreira.
I haven't looked, but somebody posted on my video that there was actually an issue after this. Is there an issue after this?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Huh. They said something about it being an all
Harley issue.
All Harley issue. Is it actually Suicide Squad, or is it a special one-shot? Any idea?
No, I don't. I don't have any idea. That was a surprise to me in that. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so that I don't know for sure, but I enjoyed the end of this. I thought this was a really fun. This is a really fun take on the Suicide Squad. You know, it didn't break any really new ground. I liked Seeley's treatment of the characters, their personalities, their motivations, and whatnot. It seemed like there was actually stuff there. I would have liked to have seen more, quite honestly. Yeah. You know, of these guys going on. I'm suspect that the book will take a dip going into Rebirth, but we'll see.
Yeah. I was surprised with the Lady of Death, that they made her some kind of demigod, that they brought her in, because it, you know, she was starting
the Rose of Death tattoo person, yeah.
Fighting Cheetara, or Cheetah in this. It was just, I just felt that part was a little off, but otherwise I really loved the book.
Well, like it got ended early. Like, oh, well, we're not going to be able to use this as much as we thought we were going to, so we're just going to dial it up here with what's his name, the guy that uses fire. Her and him going out into basically in a blaze of glory.
Yeah.
Back to hell and whatnot. But I like the Harley Quinn in this. This is the Harley Quinn that I like. The kind of unhinged and violent, but she's got she's got a principle or a code behind her violence. It's like, well, yeah, we want Waller dead, but we want her killed by friends, not by some random dude that's part of the Fist of Cain. So I thought that was kind of funny. Some funny stuff in there, but.
Well, and even wrapping it up at the end with her, and Deadshot, kind of like, well, we almost kill each other, but now that you've forgiven me, it's really wonderful. Hey, would you like to hear my next breakout idea?
Right. It basically starts the whole thing over again because, of course, Waller is also, she's out there and she's showing off Belgrave and the Suicide Squad to somebody from France. When this whole arc started out, she was showing it off to somebody from England. So, yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Be curious to see what it becomes.
Well, how? Because we talk about this every time there's a movie coming up. Do you feel that influence at all in this yet?
The only thing that seemed to me was at the very end of this, it kind of shows the squad all back together again. They're in prison, and it shows more of the characters that are going to be in the movie. They aren't used, but you suddenly see Killer Croc there. Who else did we see? There's somebody else. Well, Boomerang's back in it more. I mean, they introduce him at the end of this arc, kind of a thing, instead of having him in it from the beginning. Other than that, no, it didn't really feel like that there was any wink or nod to the to the movie going forward. So
cool.
Let's see. So we want to talk this briefly. The end of the Poison Ivy cycle of life and death. 6 of 6. Thank you.
Sign of the beast.
Anybody have anything positive they want to say about it? Mike, you didn't even pick it up, huh?
No, didn't even bother.
You weren't compulsed as a collector to have the entire run?
No. I should have dropped it even last book. But...
Damn you. Yeah, I know, so should have I, but...
Yeah.
I don't really have anything too positive to say about it, no. I will say I'm kind of surprised they ended it in a way that they left it open to use those kids, those daughters, again in the future, even though they probably won't. But they left it in a way that they could, because I thought for sure they'd just be killed off. It's like, oh, we'll never speak of them again.
Right. Well, yeah, they either get killed by the monster, or they'd suddenly grow old and die because they're growing old faster than what what regular people are. That they just wilt off and die or whatever. That was kind of my guess. But what I would have thought would have happened too. They actually left it open-ended at the end of this, implying that
was surprising to me.
Implying that they're off to go do something. I don't know if they did that with the hopes that the contention online that's advocating for a ongoing for Poison Ivy in the Rebirth stuff, that this gives them a door to do that. I'm open to a Poison Ivy run, but please not this.
No, exactly.
What were the sales like on that? Do you know?
I haven't a clue.
I don't follow that as much as I should.
Yeah, I have no clue. There are just a lot of elements I don't care for in the whole run.
Swamp Thing just sort of showed up randomly in this. It didn't really have any sort of effect.
That sounds about Swamp Thing.
Well, yeah, he shows up and then he has no. He's just there.
Yeah. They make a quip about him sounding like, oh, Swamp Thing. That sounds like a WWE name. He's like, right. WWE?
Right, and then when they actually go to fight the monster, he's not even on a single panel. It's right. the girls and Ivy and the guy with the pink mohawk running around.
For me, it ended. I guess maybe that's the best positive thing I can say. It ended.
Yeah.
I really. It started off mediocre, and I was like, it could get better, and then as the series progressed, I just found I was getting less and farther distant away from it.
Yeah.
Like the last issue, I felt like I was reading it ahead of what actually came about. Like I knew where the story was going before it got there. Yeah. And this one was just a mediocre, forgettable ending to me.
Right, and for me, to be honest, I wouldn't have gotten to issue 6 either, other than I knew that I was going to complete it. And I figured, well, a few more bucks to finish it out, so it's a complete miniseries as opposed to some random thing that goes in my sluff drawers, which I have a lot of. But so yeah, just to see whatever. I don't feel like there was a full commitment to this thing. I mean, I'm sure that there are a lot of things at work in corporate comics that made this probably difficult to do. It's like they started to go someplace with it with the kids and that sort of thing, but clearly they needed more room or something to really do maybe something better with it. But thank God they were given the room, because what they did deliver wasn't delivered well. I mean, there were elements that I was curious about, but not. Yeah, it didn't work out.
No, I agree.
Yeah. So, Rebirth issues. Where do we want to start? There were 6, right? 6 came out this week. No. There's one other book, isn't there? The Swamp Thing, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't read that one yet, but you guys can spoil the hell of it. That's fine.
Well, what do you think happens, Brandon?
don't even want to guess. My brain's not working. Just go ahead.
Swamp Thing wins. Yay!
Swamp Thing and the zombie have a dance-off.
Close. Very close.
Aw.
So, what do people want to say? Anybody want to say anything about this? Because I mean, I'm a broken record, I guess, on this for me.
I thought it was what it was, and for what it was what it was. I mean, you know, it wasn't terrific. It wasn't especially memorable. There was nice art to look at.
Right.
The script is 70s throwback, as they all have been. And I think that, I mean, I wouldn't want it for a permanent direction for the character, and I don't want it to come back in 2 months, even though it's obviously set up for a sequel. I would like them to do something different with Swamp Thing, and a little thing like this every 3-4 years is just fine. Of course, Len Wein is like 76 years old, so I don't know how many more he'd have in him if you were doing them at that pace. But as a change of pace thing every few years, it's fine.
It was a nice visit to a time gone by. It wasn't offensive, you know. It wasn't like, oh, this is offending. It was like, oh, cool. This is kind of like a classic feel to it. The art was great. I think it played to a certain audience, and I'm in that audience. So I mean, I'm not like, oh, this is groundbreaking shit here we're getting, but it was what it was. I think it's perfect.
Yeah, and for me, I didn't enjoy it. I mean, I guess I can go back and read the original Swamp Thing and get this. I do love the art. You know, Kelly Jones on Swamp Thing is perfect. You know, as far as that, his style, it's cool for that kind of a thing. But I just, the throwback style of writing where the writer is trying to hold everything up. You know, he's giving you tons of narration, of description, and it's like, for me, that's what the freaking art is for. You know, so I don't know. I continue to have problems with that. I get the idea, the people who enjoy it being a throwback, because it certainly is that. And I guess it's maybe cheaper than buying Silver Age comics, unless you want to buy the reader copies. But I don't know. But whatever. I can go back and read the old stuff, I guess, and get the Bernie Wrightson artwork to go along with it. So.
Well, nothing's that good.
Right. But I don't know. I just it's hard for me to read it just because of we've moved as a writing in comics have moved so far beyond that it just feels it doesn't feel throwback in a wink and a nod to a time gone by. It feels like he never moved.
Oh, yes. There's no question.
He never moved.
Yeah,
he never moved past that kind of a thing.
I mean,
and
if
I find
you
that
read
frustrating.
like that horrific Len Wein Ozymandias thing, he never learned how to write comics any other way. You know, he still writes them like they were back then. And for this, I thought it was inoffensive.
Sure. I guess I would have found it less offensive if I wouldn't have spent money on it. So, and it's another one of those. And I guess it's one of those things that I bought it because I knew it was going to come to an end. If I had known that if it was going to be like a regular, ongoing kind of a thing, I would have been gone 3 issues ago. Just like the Poison Ivy, I guess. So, yeah. So now we're down to Rebirth issues, right? There's 5. Now I got to count. So, what Rebirth do we want to talk first?
Let me just move this over here. All right.
Did you get any Rebirth, Mike?
I got 2. I got Batman was one of them.
We want to talk Batman first? Let's talk Batman first. Let's just get that out of the way.
Okay.
Get that out of the way. Well, I understand. It's not Commissioner Gordon in a robot suit. I understand that.
You're right.
We all want that back.
I missed the bunny suit. I'm so pissed.
And since Luke is not here, I will be the foremost authority on Batman, I guess, this show. And
those are big shoes to fill, man.
I know it is, and I know
I'm a guy wearing a Green Lantern shirt.
It was good. It definitely hit a whole bunch of different notes, and towards the end, I think, was the only part with his sentimental touching of, tell my son this and tell Dick this. I mean, for somebody who plans everything, you know there's a videotape on in case of my death, play this video. So I just didn't quite get the feel on what that was for.
Right. I have to admit, for me, I thought that was weird. The first issue, he's in a, I guess, typical superhero death-defying, kind of a thing. And the whole, is this a good death? Would my parents be proud? I don't know. I had a hard time with that just because this feels like, we're supposed to be doing a new Batman. Yeah. I haven't felt invested in the character and in his emotions and that sort of thing to suddenly be going down this road. That part seemed odd for me. Most of this book felt like it was kind of like to get to the end, right? The end was the important part of the comic for me. It seemed like that was the important thing. We suddenly get introduced to these two new characters. Well, at least I'm assuming they're new. I've never heard of them before. Anybody else?
Gotham and Lady Gotham? No.
Gotham Girl?
Gotham Girl. Sorry. Thank you.
Yes. So I'm curious about that, and I'll be curious to see what that is.
Well, I'm also surprised that he's so flippant with people's secret identities. He's like, Clark, is that you lifting the plane? And I'm like, really? Are you just going to tell everybody Superman's name?
Well, I don't think anybody on the outside of that. Well, I wouldn't think anybody would be hearing, but and David Finch artwork. I like Batman. I don't like a lot of David Finch's artwork outside of that. I will continue to complain that girl's face is the same damn girl's face that's on every woman that David Finch has drawn since the beginning of at least the New 52. And there's some moments in here where Batman is riding on this plane as it's careening through the city, and his cape is lying flat as opposed to. Maybe that's me just being nitpicky, but it's kind of like, huh. Okay, now that I picked on it, anybody else got anything they want to say about it?
Well, Duke. So Duke is going to be the Penny too. I mean, he's the technician, and he's some kind of genius to figure out vectors.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, that's what I was trying to grasp. Is where
I almost thought it was strange that they're choosing to even use Duke, because Duke felt like it was a Snyder character, and I kind of assumed that hopefully he would kind of disappear with the Snyder work, or he would become part of whatever Snyder was doing in his books, and we wouldn't see so much of him. So I don't know.
You want to know why? Because he's Tim Drake 2.0.
Yeah, I know.
He really is.
I know, it's disgusting.
I thought he'd do a Batwing or something, but
no. In the Batman not Forever Evil. What is it? Future's End. He's Robin.
All right.
Right.
But I just feel like this issue was very quick-paced. Didn't do a whole lot to introduce us to a new. It didn't feel as new as I would have liked it to.
Mm-hmm.
It felt different, though. It did feel different than Snyder in a lot of ways, but I'm not sure if that's in the art style or because one problem I had with Snyder's run is I felt like it took him forever to pull the trigger on things, and this was kind of immediately action, immediately this, immediately that, new characters right in your face. And I'm wondering if I'm grading it higher than I feel like Snyder to me as much. I don't know. I need a couple more issues before I can go, okay, this is not for me.
Right.
Detective's better.
Right. Well, I'm not complaining about it. I mean, I'm interested to see what's there, but yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't have hard to formulate. I don't have a rock solid. I liked it or I didn't like it kind of a thing. I'm just kind of, there are elements that I like and some I don't. The disembodied voice read it and she didn't like Commissioner Gordon. She thought his voice was
harsh,
not right. Yeah. And he's more of the gumshoe detective kind of. She said that because she can't remember everybody's names. She's more like that guy that smokes the cigar. So she felt like that he was more like Bullock.
Harvey.
Yeah, his character came across more like Bullock. So I don't know.
Well, I thought you made a great point when you said the whole thing felt like set up for the last page.
Yeah.
They're not going to go back to what the hell was going on with this plane or why did it almost crash? That's over. It was pure set piece.
Sure.
I thought that I thought King had the Alfred and Batman dynamic nailed down pretty well. That dialogue was pretty good. The "is this a good death" line was cringeworthy.
Yeah.
That's just straight up cringeworthy. And the other thing is, well, a couple quick observations. One, for a run that was totally celebrated the way the Snyder Capullo one was, it seems like everybody was ready for something different by the time it was over. It's not like people were like, can't wait to see what somebody else does now that Gaiman's off this Sandman book or something. But, when Snyder and Capullo were done, it seemed like people were ready for them to be done. But this raises a couple things that I was concerned with, having read some interviews with King where he's talking about the book, where it sounds to me like he's going to double down on the psycho factor with Batman. And I'm a little concerned about that, because we got this, tell them all, I'm going to die here thing. And he's saying, one of the things he wants to explore is how long you can basically stick your head in the social toilet without getting dirty yourself and what it does to you and stuff. And I don't know, I'm ready for a little more lighter tone Batman than we've been getting in recent years.
I don't know if I'm ready for lighter tone, but I don't like the idea of Batman dropping to his adversary's level, though. So I haven't read those interviews. I've kind of been avoiding reading the sales pitch and just reading the content. So
well, out of the two so far, I had more fun with Detective than I did with this book.
Yeah.
Well, and I have to say, I think they'll go back to the person. I know it was just Cobra that shot the missile, but they show the picture of the guy who kills the Cobra guy. So I really feel they will go back to that.
Yeah, that's...
What they're going to do is they're going to say that some geese flew into the engines and this dude, Sully, came and... Isn't that...
But it would be interesting to see if they brought Cobra back, kind of as a formidable type of threat, kind of across the DC line. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be okay with that for sure.
Because we're reading that in our Katana book right now, and I had never really heard of these people before that. So
Cobra.
Yeah, this observe the clock Batman. That's you're talking about that panel there, where the Cobra guy has been clearly shot or gacked in the head. I mean, he's got a big old hole in his head, and there's this trench coat figure.
Made me think of like Clockman when he said that with the clock. The old wonderful villain that he has. But I mean, if they could kill him, man.
Yeah, you know what my immediate thought was, though? I thought it was that Gotham guy.
All right.
Yeah.
And did you notice this, Travis? Visual hint. I saw dropped in some of the books 9-panel grids.
Yeah.
Making their way in to the main DCU books. We'll see if that means anything or not.
I meant to go back through this issue and look to see if there actually was literally like a smiley face someplace or whatnot, because quite a few of these books actually have smiley faces. I didn't see one either. I didn't see on the first read through, and I didn't have time to go back and look at it again and whatnot. I thought it was weird that they used this car too. This version of the Batmobile kind of bugs me. I don't know. Just that super long, skinny Batmobile. I don't know. That was weird. But whatever.
Just think how big of a pain in the ass that'd be to turn.
Right.
Or to
anything
park.
like that. Well, I don't think Batman crap about parking, but I don't know. Like I said, I like Finch's Batman himself and the elements that he puts behind it. Finch is good at that, but there's other elements about Finch's stuff that I'll be reading the first 3 issues or however many issues of it that Finch is on, groaning, I guess, at certain.
I looked at this cover, and for some reason I looked at Gotham, like the male one of the two, and for some reason he reminded me of Geoforce.
Oh.
Right. Well, yeah, because that's the same style of mask.
Yeah.
Right. That Geoforce, and he's kind of a blondish redhead, which Geoforce was.
Well, and when I first saw that, I was scared. I thought those were both R's, and I thought they were going to be Robins when it first came out. So I got so scared I had to get the Tim Seeley cover instead. So
nice.
Just
nice.
I could see that.
It did look. Didn't you guys think maybe that Finch is going for a little more of an individualistic style with his? Not that I'm saying it was entirely successful, but it was a little less cookie cutter New 52 look. The way some of his stuff and like Gary Frank and a couple of these other guys can kind of have an interchangeable look to their art almost. This one is a little bit more distinctive looking.
Well, as much as I like Capullo, I'm happy to be away from Capullo's Batman. I am. I just am. I mean, I think he does well visually and whatnot with his art style and whatnot. But I was ready to see anybody else do Batman, you know, kind of a thing. So.
And now is Finch doing 5 and then someone else, or is it?
I don't know how many issues he's doing before the swap
they're
is.
rotating. Yeah, they're
not
rotating.
Every issue.
Mikkel Janin does next issue, I believe.
Really? Is it every issue or is it every couple issues? Well, I guess we'll see. Ultimately, ends up being.
Yeah. All right.
But I love all the Jenin work, so that's fine with me. So
All right.
I'm on board for a while. I'm not. I mean, like I said, I'm not hating it by any means. It was like, but ultimately, it just felt like the whole thing was set up to that to drop the bomb at the end of it. These two clearly superpowered people in Gotham. After he tries calling in all the JLA, and the JLA isn't available, that's okay. I'll take care of it because it is my town. It's my city. And now suddenly somebody else has showed up who is named after the city, and they've informed him that they're going to take care of it. So.
Wouldn't it have been better if they weren't shown on the cover?
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is another one of those cover designs that if we want to talk covers, I don't like.
Yeah.
A stack of people with elements behind it. I don't know.
Yeah, he's trying to do Steranko, but it's not coming close.
Well, I get the movie poster idea that's behind that kind of a concept, but it's been done so much that if you don't have really strong elements about it, it just, I don't know. It's old.
Yeah.
So what else? What other books do you want to talk about? Let's talk this. Let's get one of these out of the way.
Okay.
Titans Rebirth. So this is a Rebirth issue, right? Where this was actually the official #1 of Batman. This is the one-shot Rebirth issue. Titans, which I have not been reading the Titans Hunt. CDC, you have, right?
Correct.
And that was by Abnett. Abnett's writing that also.
Yeah.
Is that right? Brett Booth and Rep Munden on art on this. Booth doing pencils, Munden doing the inking. I think they've been a team for like a million years now, as far as them together doing work. I'm talking art briefly, at least, because there was a time when I actually liked Brett Booth's artwork and whatnot, but now I am not excited by it at all.
It looks like
out of that '90s era, right? I mean, it is kind of that throwback. It's that leftover from that '90s era, you know, kind of a thing. The really thick thighs that have an incredible amount of muscles in their thighs. Not that Donna Troy can't be as muscly as the rest of them, but I mean, in some of the panels, if you look at their legs, they all have literally the same legs, the same thickness, the same. This is the comic that on Twitter we were talking about being colored weird too, because the Flash. This is another Flash, right? This is Wally West, the Flash. He's got a new costume that's, I guess, introduced in this issue. It's all red with a little bit of, maybe it has blue. But because they're in blue lighting, they highlight him in blue, and so it makes him look really weird, right? The coloring of it. Him and Arsenal both look strange.
What I've always felt about his art, especially recently, is it always feels like he had half the time to do the comic as anyone else would have, and so he does it quickly. You get what I'm saying? Like the homework's due soon, and I just realized it. Kind of feel like it looks good, but at the same time you're kind of like, no, it's off a little bit. Like it hurried almost. Yeah. And I don't know.
So because you read Titans Hunt, does this feel like it's just a continuation of Titans Hunt in some sense? The writing, the way it's written, the style, and everything? No.
No. Titan's Hunt was a lot more. It had a build to it. It was a lot slower. This feels like they were like, we got to get this established immediately. Where Titan's Hunt took time to establish the team. They didn't meet all together until maybe the 4th or 5th issue as a team. Okay. They kind of built each individual character up because I think they figured we'll bring in the people that want this team, and then for new readers, we'll get them kind of acclimated to this team a little bit. And this was just thrown together real quick. I don't know if this is like machinations of DC, like they had to throw this together quickly, but it felt tossed together.
So this is the second Abnett book, Rebirth book that I've read. He did Aquaman 2. And I had issues with Aquaman because it just felt like it was this kind of narrative, kind of a dry, single voice all the way through the book. That just, in the case of the Aquaman book, it just kind of it told me what happened in the entire New 52 run, basically. This one doesn't do that, but it still kind of felt like it was. I don't know. I don't want all the books to be written from Wally West's perspective, I guess, is also. Because the voices aren't the same, first and foremost. The different writers do not voice him the same, so he feels off in this one in comparison to the Jeff Johns version, for instance. Yeah. I don't know. I'm. This is one of those books that once my great deal that I'm getting on ordering all of these goes, it's on an extremely short leash. Mm-hmm. In the old days, I loved these characters back in the day, but I don't know. I don't know that I have the feel for them now. But you're telling me this isn't like what Titan's Hunt was, so I'm hoping that, because that regular Abnett stuff that I really enjoyed, so I don't. I'm hoping it's not bad, that's not my problem, but
yeah, it felt much. It almost feels like they let him kind of go off and do his own thing with it because they figured no one would read it, and so that was kind of the feel of it. Where this feels like, well, this is kind of a part of the big thing that we're doing here, so we gotta make it as streamlined as possible. I mean, because I guess if I was brand new to this, like to Titans and all that, this issue would be okay in that sense because you kind of get a taste of all the characters. But
and what their relations are with with West. Okay, yeah, I can see that.
But I don't need that, so I got to see a couple subsequent issues to see if that's the feel of all of it.
Yeah. The actual run versus the special. Which now that I'm starting to get more and more into these books, I see where the Rebirth issue, and then like 2 weeks later a #1 issue comes out, can be as confusing as all get out. Yeah. I mean, we just had a Batman #1. Now we have a Batman #1. What the hell? So, yeah.
You're supposed to read Justice League first before that one. Is that right?
I didn't see anything that told me that.
In Justice League,
there's an asterisk in there that says this happened in, this happened in Titan's Hunt. That's as close as it goes.
Titans. Okay.
Which I don't have a problem with that.
No, so at the end of this,
any long-running set of comic books has that stuff happen. Where they go, hey, if you want to know more about this, go read that. Not you have to read it though. But
my wife just waved hi to all you guys, but you didn't see her.
Oh,
howdy. So at the end of this, they go, this if you want to hear more about this story, read the Titans Rebirth. But other than that, it has nothing.
Okay.
And
I read that Justice League, though, and I didn't think that had squat to do with much of anything. It was like 4 years old. The fill-in it was pure. It was an old-school fill-in issue that was, they're just, and I think number 52 was solicited for this week, so they're just getting it over with.
Yeah, it really felt filler. There's nothing built in any of this. So what it is essentially Robin's first experience with the Justice League, and that's the story. It's really just a one-shot. Really, if I was being kind to it, it's a one-shot. Yeah. If I'm being truthful, he's right. It's a filler issue. They're just wanting to get 52 issues out.
Yeah, it's an inventory story. Who knows how long that was sitting around?
And if you read Titans Rebirth, there's nothing in it that you're like, oh, that comes from. There is one scene in Titans where one page in Titans where they steal the Batmobile, and you kind of get that playful Robin in that. But other than that, it's like No, there's not. You wouldn't miss anything.
Okay. Okay. So, what other Rebirth books do you want to talk about?
Can I just say the one thing that bugged me about Green Arrow? And it's very small. It's not... Okay, let me find it real quick. There's just one writing technique that... Otherwise, I loved this comic. But it's just one little thing. So he goes, and they're back to back, and he goes, "How do you do, Emmy?" Right? And then she gives her exposition. Like, that's how you can say, "How do you do?"
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, my dad left when I was... No. If someone says, "How are you doing?" you just...
Right.
That was the only... And I hate it when they do that. This is like you said, this is a show, don't tell medium.
Right.
If you're going to do that, have a flashback. I don't mind that. Other than that, I'm very interested where this is going. Maybe if I was being I'm very critical tonight. Maybe a little too much in this. Maybe a little too much. If I'm new to Green Arrow, there's a lot here. I'm like, what's going on?
Right.
Other than that, I from what you guys said about his run on this just a few issues ago, this is completely different and
It is.
far superior.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it though.
The one weird pacing thing I found with this issue was the first half of the book was really wordy and text-heavy, and then the minute you got past that 2-page ad in the middle, it all flew by, didn't it? I mean, there were it was like reading a Mike Grell Green Arrow issue there at the back, you know? There was probably 8 lines of dialogue in the last 10 pages, and the whole first half was pretty wordy, pretty talky.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that in a book. I'm not complaining about a talky book. I think that's getting your money's worth. But it was kind of jarring how it went, you know, just like that.
And another Court of Owls appearance in this. I like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean the thing about it picking up pace at the end of it, I guess I liked it. And the fact is that when they, when the time came when there was a conversation to be had, hey, I'm starting to notice that my money's being filtered off to strange places that I don't understand. What's that about? I mean, clearly that's a time that you'd have a healthy conversation about whatever, kind of a thing. And then when we get to the part where it suddenly picks up pace, it's all pure. It's basically pure action at that point. It's him being attacked and scrambling and whatnot. So I don't know. I thought that all worked. I really like the art. I mean, like I said, I'm not familiar with Otto Schmidt outside of this, but I don't know. I really enjoyed him in this. There's some heavy-handedness in this, but that I think is okay because it's interesting how they're playing Ollie, or seemingly so far playing Ollie. They're playing him as being this person who wants to be, the champion of the common man, of the people who don't have anything and whatnot. And how he's going about doing that right now. Clearly, he's throwing money at everything. That's his answer. I've got it. Why not use it? It's gonna, money makes everybody happy. Let's just throw that out there and whatnot. But they're clearly building him to that he's still green. Kind of like what they did with the New 52. They started him out as green, but he was a frickin' idiot and he had no value whatsoever. Here he seems attempting to have a value as a man, but doesn't maybe understand completely the ramifications of all of his things. He seems to think it's easy and like Black Canary, and I think after she's gone, other people are going to lay it on him that it is not as simple as what he seems to. So I'm interested in all those story elements of it to see what we get as far as that goes. So yeah, I'm still pretty excited by the book. And so I'm like I said, I'm curious to see where the whole thing goes. There's some great betrayal in this, I guess, that I guess I didn't see coming. At the very end, I was kind of surprised by. I mean, not, oh my gosh, I've never seen that in comic books before, but still, just what happened was, I thought that was.
He's not, being a little bit of a preachy, heavy-handed guy has always been a Green Arrow trait. Going back to heck, he's mild-mannered here compared to Denny O'Neil's.
Right. For sure.
So.
For sure. But I even, like I said, I even like Black Canary in this. I like the role she's playing in this part of the story that she's in, to kind of point out to him that he's still kind of flirting with hypocrisy here and how his approach to just like him paying the cops, for instance, and stuff. I don't know. Is clearly, I mean, if you're naive, you can see it from his perspective. Oh, he's just tipping them. It's no big deal. But from a that's that's not how they should operate, kind of a deal. I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they maintain these elements that they're throwing out there. If the writer will continue to maintain that stuff, I'll be curious about. So.
Well, and coming off of the 52 to this, the little parts I had issue with was trying to figure out with them, like, what his age is and how much experience he should have.
Right.
And then how much of who his sister and that was, how much of that characterization should carry over to this storyline. So I'm definitely leaving it up, but I mean, because I got stung by the writer before, I guess I'm a little more worried on how he's going to use the characters.
Okay, sure. Well, I think we'll see fairly quickly with the release schedule of this. I think it's if there are problems, I can't imagine they're going to be able to hide them for very long, right?
Right.
So I think we have two more issues of this artist, and then we move to, I think it's issue 3.
Yeah.
I think it's issue 3 that Ferrara starts on the book, doing the book too. So
I believe so, yeah. Which will be good. I will like watching them bounce back and forth.
Anything else to say about Green Arrow? Maybe Brandon will come back when we're done talking.
One of the more interesting comics going on DC right now. I'm interested. It's one of those things where it's like, whether I enjoy it or not is one thing, but whether I'm actually interested in where it's going is a whole other thing. And I'm very interested in where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not influenced by the television show, because I am trying to watch that again.
All right.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it really, I mean, I will say that, kudos for them. It is its own thing. I mean, it's not, I don't think there's, costume-wise, there might be some influence, drifted over from the TV show to the comic, but beyond that, it doesn't feel like it really is. So.
And the salmon ladder.
Age-wise,
Yeah.
He seems like about the same age as the Arrow TV guy, whereas in years past, we kind of had a 40-something Green Arrow.
Right.
I miss, like, the running for mayor, like, going, like, I share some of this guy's flaws. Hey, I can, well, I do in this, too, but, anyone who's reading Green Arrow gets that, but it's true. Like, I get where he's coming from in that sense. I miss that guy.
Yep, for sure.
Oh, boy. So, what do you want to talk next?
Go ahead, CDC. What do you want to talk next? You want to talk lanterns?
Yeah.
Let's talk lanterns, because I'm always curious to talk lanterns because, of course, I'm not a Green Lantern fan, in the slightest. I'm interested in these two characters, though, because they're hopefully going to be different than Hal Jordan.
They are.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's a little Hal-ish in a lot of ways. I think she's the interesting character in this, because she's so different from every Green Lantern that you've had up to this point. Not just gender, but characterization.
Right, because all the Green Lanterns. Brandon, did you read Green Lanterns?
No.
So all the Green Lanterns basically are kind of
cocky jerks.
Egotistical, right? They're all really full of themselves, because that's part of where they come from. That willpower, that heavy confidence that I can do whatever needs to be done, right? I mean, that's kind of how the rings run, right?
Yeah, and it's weird, because I thought what I would like about this is actually what I'm not liking about this. I thought, like, okay, we're going to see the Red Lanterns, and they're kind of a distraction in this, almost, for me. I want to see this buddy cop duo kind of grow, as much as it's a cliche for me. It's like, I can deal with that. I can deal with that. I like these two different characters kind of trying to figure out if they can get along, and it feels like the Red Lantern stuff's kind of just pile-drived on top of that for me.
Right.
I almost wish they just had their own comic book again, to be blatantly honest.
Yeah. I'm apprehensive about the Red Lantern part of it, just because that always feels like it's an eventish kind of thing, and I know that the Lantern stuff has really gotten bogged down over the years being tied into these crossover things, and they can sometimes be problematic in one way or another. So, I mean, I liked Atrocitus in this. He clearly comes across as being
scary.
A scary bad guy. I mean, he's there throttling the only Red Lantern I really know. And that I'm like, okay, so this guy is like really serious. He's gonna just kill whoever or whatever that he needs to get to his need, and he doesn't come across as purely bad. I mean, he has some elements of clearly he's trying to survive, and this is a matter of survival. So I can get behind a villain that isn't just I'm here to take over the universe because that's what you do when you're the bad guy.
In Red Lanterns, so Guy Gardner took over the whole crew and all that, and so he had to go, like, he was kind of the side story for a while of him rebuilding himself and getting and it was just him and the cat for a while. Like, he's like, I gotta get new Red Lanterns to take out Guy Gardner and all. So I see a lot of that in this, of him like still having that insecurity and like kind of like almost Sinestro-esque in a lot of ways, where it's like I have to keep order because if I keep order, the status quo is still around. And I almost felt like that was going to be their approach towards Earth, is like, these Green Lanterns are too, they don't clamp down the way we do. We gotta, and it's almost, I feel like he's cackling and twirling his mustache a little bit. Too much for me. I want that insecure, kind of like, I have to be in charge, because if I'm not in charge, it all goes to shit. Like, Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's cool. So, yeah, okay. I get what you're saying. I do like the play between the two lanterns here. It's not over the top. They're not in perpetual conflict with each other. I mean, they're trying to feel each other out. They are keeping most of their grumbling about each other eternally, which you kind of do when we have a work part. You get to work next to somebody you don't particularly care for, or at least if you're going to attempt to try and work next to them and not be totally miserable, you kind of keep it to yourself. So a lot of it is kind of internalized. So I kind of like that. Because they really could have easily made this, every issue they're going to be, fighting each other as much as they're fighting whatever it is they're fighting. Yeah. They bungle everything because they're fighting with each other. So that's not really been the case. I'm not that interested in Simon. His whole, I don't know that I'm digging how the his having been charged as a terrorist, that whole element and whatnot. And I don't know if that's just because I don't have a good perspective on that, because clearly I'm not of his nationality or Muslim or any of that to be able to reflect from that. But the writers aren't giving me, I don't know if that just means the writers aren't giving me enough to be able to actually sympathize with this whole. See, I guess the problem is with this rebirth doesn't feel like anything has changed. We've just gone on with the New 52 Green Lantern storyline. Nothing about the 10 years or whatever that disappeared. None of that seems to have a factor in this book. So I'm missing all the back context that would make me more sympathetic to Simon having been thrown in Guantanamo, and the rings that got him out. This supposed leverage that the United States has over him, I don't understand that, because honestly, what are they going to do to him? He's a freaking Green Lantern. I mean, that's kind of to me, it seems like a joke. I mean,
that's part of the problem.
That puts him like in the top 5 superheroes in the DC universe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, whatever.
The naivete in John's writing of this character early on bothered me, because the way he's framed. He didn't have anything to do with it.
Sure. And he's a car thief. I know that, right?
But it would have been cleared up so quickly. I get that they're trying to be like sinister government coming in, and I get that's the play of that. But in reality, he would have been cleared up fairly quickly.
Right.
Like there's no way that he would have just. And I get that we could get into that. Like, people do get pigeonholed. I'm not naive to that. But the way they set this story up, it just doesn't fit. And for him to have a chip on his shoulder from that, I think they should have made it from something else too. Like, maybe that's who he's always kind of been a little bit.
I can see the chip end of it. It's the government end of it that I don't understand. I don't understand. It's he's one or the other. He's a terrorist, and they deal with him. how they deal with the terrorists, or he's not, and you just have to kind of be done with him. I don't see. I don't understand how they have a leverage. How they actually have leverage on him. Because what? Because they. So I'm supposed to accept that there's some level of government that just goes, well, because we've got leverage on you, we're going to. I don't know. I don't know. That part of it, I'm.
It should have been built better, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm having a problem buying into. I can buy into the agoraphobic who's being forced out of her shell more than I can him. And
maybe they should have put Tom King on this book.
You know what though? Yeah. That probably would have been better told.
Yeah.
I think Jeff Johns kind of played into stereotypes a bit and didn't get called out on it, to be blatantly honest.
Yeah. There was just a celebration that there was a Muslim character, right?
Yeah.
It didn't go beyond that.
But he doesn't trust his ring completely. He trusts his gun. There's all these conflicting things because if you want him, I get that plays into him not liking authority because of clearly what he's going through.
Sure.
But the ring isn't something that's blackmailing him. The ring isn't doing anything like that. And it's always been in Green Lantern mythology that the ring is probably the one thing you can rely on. So I don't get, because they're all kind of very much, not to use kind of vernacular nowadays, but alpha kind of guys that are like, this is the only thing I can rely on, no one else. And they're never team players in that sense. And so for him to be like, I can't even trust this ring, but I can trust my sidearm. It's like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, so that story element I have a problem with. I like the way that people talk. I like the language that's in it. That all seems to work. There's that story element for me is I find questionable, I guess, in some way. There's something else you want to say about Ryan?
A pit full of bodies and that occult sacrifice-looking alien and that whole thing early on in the book. It's like that kind of seemed a little incongruous with what you'd expect from I don't know. I hadn't picked up a Green Lantern comic in many years, and I'm out after this issue anyway. I'm not going to keep up with it. But that just seemed a little bit weird. I mean, I would have expected that more like in a mature reader's Batman book. You had a literal pit full of dead bodies there underneath that house or whatever. It just seemed a little... And I don't want to sound like an anti-violence prude, but you know what I mean? Just seemed a little bit out of place in a Green Lantern book. Unless there's something I don't get about how...
It's the Red Lanterns.
So they just kill everybody like that?
The Red Lanterns are literally heavy metal covers constantly. You know what I mean? Like that's their appearance. That's kind of the vibe you get from them. I don't mind that. I like I'm saying, I just don't know if it's gelling with the story I'm wanting to hear at this point. These two, I think, are enough. I don't know if I want the Red Lanterns kind of coming in. Yeah, I think you could have these two just taking on threats to Earth that aren't necessarily the Red Lanterns, and them having their distinct personalities work against each other or with each other, and that'd be enough.
Yeah, but I think they wanted it to be big. Mm-hmm. They didn't want a quiet story. They want a big story. Clearly, you put Red Lanterns in there. They're kind of an,
So this cosmic slaughterhouse angle is not anything new?
Not to the Red Lanterns, no.
Lanterns.
Okay. I don't know squat about them. I never read New 52, Green Lanterns, Red Lanterns, any of that.
Yeah, the bits and pieces of it that I know of anyway, that this would not be uncommon. Over the top, violent, kind of a deal.
They're instead of overcoming fear, they give into rage. So yeah, that's their whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else to say about Green Lantern?
I'm actually gonna stick with it for a bit. I think
I'm gonna read it for a little bit. Yep. Yep.
I liked it better than some other ones. Probably my favorite DC book this month was one I didn't expect to be my favorite. I should have known from the team.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Here's my thing with it. We're going to talk Superman, right? Here's my thing. Excited for the team, but I'm like, okay, I don't know exactly, what elements are they going to use? What are they going to do? I'm like, okay, I know this Superman has a wife and a kid. Are we going to get the same element, dad and son like we had with Batman and Robin? And then I wasn't sure on that. I wasn't sure if that was going to be a good thing or a bad thing. I absolutely love this comic.
Yeah.
I mean, it has some of the same elements, but it's not the same. I don't feel like they're treading the same ground. Granted, it's only one issue, but even one issue in, it's not delivering the same sort of message. So,
Clark is Clark. He's not Bruce.
Yeah,
and you
right.
feel like this is Clark in this.
And the other way around, Superboy is not Damian. Superboy doesn't have that same rebellious side as Damian does.
Yeah. completely different as far as that goes. I even like Lois's voice. What she is in here, I like that. I mean, if you love cats, I'm sorry.
I have a couple. So yeah.
Oh my God, that was horrible but awesome at the same time. I mean, you see that whole scene happening and the eyes light up and you're thinking, whoa, this is gonna be awesome, and then, oh no. Oh, and I don't know, maybe this is me talking too much about myself. I don't know if anybody else has ever gone, no, Mom or Dad, I'll never do that. You turn right around, no, I'll never throw fireworks, from my hand when they're lit, walk outside to the backyard, light it up, and go to throw it and make your hand numb for a week because you didn't get the firecracker out of your hand fast enough. I mean, that's what this was. I don't know. To me, it rang true. I mean, granted, this is on a higher level, clearly, because, he's got heat vision, but it's that same sort of thing. Oh, no, I would never do that. And then, of course, you go and do it without even thinking about it kind of a thing.
Is that how you got your Enter the Dragon hand?
It is. This hand's never been the same.
Yeah.
But you can,
you can kill with it. I thought this was good, and I was going to talk to you, but life came in. But I was going to say I never thought I'd be like Superman's superior to Batman, and this is way better than Batman was.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah,
I thought so. Brandon, what do you think?
Did anyone have a theory of the blue handprint?
I know, and I was thinking that the whole time, and I was like, this is what I keep thinking. Not. But I keep thinking this is going to be some big company-wide thing that I'm going to have to not read DC for a while when it comes up, because I am not reading that story. It's not happening.
Now, I only want to offer one small gripe. I didn't, something like this. Okay, cool. Good-looking double splash. Then right away we get another double splash. But again, depicts a lot of things. It's a great image. But then if they're going to give us another splash after that, a page or two later, I think it would have been better to use it on something like this, which they only give half a page. And then they give us a whole splash page of just his kid giving him a thumbs up. That could have just been one panel. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that one seemed like a little bit, that interrupted kind of the flow a little bit and seemed like a little bit of padding. But other than that, it was a fun little book. It's nice to see that Superboy, or whatever they're going to call him, already has his equivalent to Lana, I forget the little girl's name. But that should be fun. That should be interesting. There was no real villain set up for the issue, so that could be something that...
I don't know. I think we saw the villain at the end of the book.
What?
Right there. I think there's the villains.
Oh, you think? That would be cool. Kind of a reverse.
Quickly and quietly, you're coming with me. I don't know. Is he going to introduce him? Is he introducing the boy to the heroes of this world, or?
I think so. Oh, and on the cover there are hints of some type of villainous threat down the road. We've got this green kryptonite skull that I took to either be some kind of a Metallo or Kryptonite Man thing, and then this guy in a gas mask and some kind of Zodiac occulty costume. Who knows what that'll all be about?
I thought, because at the end of the issue it says next, Eradicated, so I thought that's who it was going to be that was coming in.
The Eradicator?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a fun comic. It was really well drawn, and it had all the right dynamics. My one gripe was that little flow with the pacing with those, some of those splashes, particularly the one with his kid. But other than that, I have no complaints with the book at all. I read it twice,
Brandon, what'd you think?
I didn't read Superman, Lois and Clark, or whatever that other one was.
Yeah.
So there's a panel here I found interesting where Superboy says, "What's so nice about, you know?" So Superman goes, "It'd be nice to have a neighbor, someone your age too, John." And he goes, "What's so nice about it?" "Huh, Mom? Everything we do is one big secret. I can't tell them who we really are. My mom writes books under a secret name. My dad is secretly a superhero, and I'm secretly half human and half Kryptonian." Which leads me to believe that the mom, Lois Lane, doesn't have her powers yet.
This is a different Lois Lane.
There's gonna be another. It's a different Lois Lane that's becoming Superwoman.
Yeah.
Okay.
This Lois Lane's from the original DC universe.
So the Lois Lane is the New 52 Lois.
The one that becomes.
I don't think Superwoman is Lois Lane, is it?
Yeah, the New 52 Lois.
Yeah, it was revealed to be a Lois Lane. Yeah, I didn't know it was a New 52 Lois. Okay.
Yeah, this Lois Lane's the pre-New 52 Lois Lane. They came into this universe, so.
Right, but I didn't know the other one was New 52 Lois. Okay.
Yeah. I was wondering what she was up to. I hadn't heard from her.
And those are elements that are a problem if you didn't read, like, Rebirth, first and foremost. Because if you didn't read the Rebirth, the DC Universe Rebirth book, some of the elements that start out in this one don't. I mean, if you came into this fresh, not knowing anything about Superman, or if you didn't read the, you wouldn't know this stuff. I mean, there's elements in this as a new reader that could be problematic, I would think. Other than just the, as I keep telling everybody, pick up a comic book, read it, and explore what's there. If you have questions, keep reading, kind of a thing. But yeah.
He did mention that Mr. Oz or Ozymandias or whoever he was, and how none of you are what you think you are. So that's kind of, whatever that means, is something set up for the long term.
Yeah. I still think that Patrick Gleason as a visual storyteller is excellent. I mean, I just think that he draws out, perfect emotions, and you look at faces and feel what they're feeling, or understand what it is that's going on without words. The whole, Batman and Wonder Woman showing up at the end, the dark, you can kind of hear what's going on. Those elements were really great because everything was so much darker. Their features are, more shadowed. It all looks, exciting, but at the same time scary. That whole elements at the end I thought were really cool. Elements. I didn't mind that page. It's over the top, but over the top in a way that I think in the fact is that just how enamored he is of his dad, how great it is to have this great person. And I think it's pretty funny that he has a parademon toy there. I thought that was kind of funny. Like I said, I was really surprised not the comic. I mean, I was excited for this comic because of the creators that were on the book, but I still went in going, it's a Superman book. How good is it going to get? It just because I don't know. I have tried pretty much every Superman book that has come out since about '84, since about John Byrne's Man of Steel. I have been trying Superman, going, there's got to be a Superman book, his own book, that I'm going to enjoy, and I've never really found it. And this first issue has me all kinds of excited, so it's a win for DC, for me anyway. Any other DC books you want to talk about? Ryan, did you want to talk about one of the other books?
I have one, if no one else got it. And if you didn't, you're smarter than me.
I did not get that.
Dark Knight, The Last Crusade. This is just continuing to, how shall I put it politely, urinate all over what remains of the Dark Knight legacy. I seem to recall, first, the one thing I liked about it is in the old school Dark Knight square-bound format. I don't care for the $6.99 price tag. I think back in the day, what were they, $3.99 for? Of course, that's not going to happen. But it's nice to see that old format back. But it's a really poor comic. The whole setup, John Romita struggles with art as he has been in the last few years. The inks are kind of, I seem to recall that Bill Sienkiewicz was originally solicited as the inker on this book, but I guess he didn't do it. And the inks are by a guy named Peter Steigerwald. They're okay. It kind of gives it a more uniform. It takes place a couple of years. Well, not a couple. It must be a decade, because hadn't he been retired for 10 years by the time of the first Dark Knight Returns? So this
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so this is supposedly what got him to retire. Steigerwald does the colors, too, and they're nice. So you figure it's mostly going to be about this final Bat confrontation with the Joker and Jason Todd. But most of the story is eaten up. Here's a classic page that looks right out of the original Dark Knight Joker.
Okay, yeah.
He gets tossed into Arkham, and he quickly sort of incites a inmate revolt. Bruce is starting to feel it. He's obviously in his late 40s, maybe even early 50s here, and is feeling beaten up. He can't take the punches like he used to. He is in a relationship of sorts with Catwoman, Selina Kyle. She's never in costume in the book, but he goes over there to get laid. Here's a terrible Ramita panel. I don't know if I have it up against the thing right where he's fighting Killer McGraw. So there's a lot of that. Anyway, most of the issue turns out to be about Poison Ivy and some deal where Poison Ivy is sucking the rich people of Gotham into, her little mind control web. And, I don't know, Batman's getting ready to hang it in there, but in shades of the Dark Knight Rises, where he comes out of retirement to save the 1%, here he's given one more fight to save his rich pals. They have all these things on TV where they're like asking questions that probably people should have asked for years, like how right is it for him to be bringing a kid into battle? Isn't this child endangerment? That kind of thing. But it's like we've kind of all asked ourselves that question about Robin for years, haven't we? So those points are obvious. And then, he breaks up this whole thing with Poison Ivy, and then Robin overhears him talking to Alfred and saying, I don't know if he'll ever be ready to take over for me. I've got to quit. I've got to give this shit up. I'm getting too old. But I just don't know if he's the one. And now Joker's escaped, and I don't want him going off half-cocked and getting in a fight with Joker. And so, of course, first thing he does at the very end, he leaves and goes after the Joker. And they don't really show it, but you assume that he gets killed. They show the first few blows of the attack, and then it's over. So what you really thought was going to be one big story about this climatic Joker confrontation we've heard about all these years, that's like an appendix at the end of the book, like an epilogue, like 2 pages. And the whole first 75% of the book is this pointless Poison Ivy story that's just her using her powers over men, just like we've seen how many times in the past. Right. And the whole book just, the art was up and down. It was a real waste. It was a real missed opportunity, and I know that my shop ordered really heavy on it, like even heavier than Dark Knight 3, because a lot of people that are not into Dark Knight 3, for good reason, they figured would want to get in on this because it's the prequel to Dark Knight Returns. But in the end, it was a really, just a really poor comic. Really poor comic. And Azzarello with supposedly co-writing from Miller, just like with Dark Knight 3. So if none of you got it, like I say, you're all smarter than me.
Yeah, my shop had a lot of copies of that too.
Yeah. And those are going to be going for a few bucks, all over the place soon enough. And there were a lot of variants for it, too. I think that, I noticed even, like, what's his name, the Bat guy here on YouTube, Joshua Haynes, even he wasn't all that fond of the book. So it's too bad Luke's not around. I would be very curious to hear his thoughts on it. But from what I've seen, even a lot of the hardcore Bat fanatics out there are not all that jazzed by this one.
Yeah. That's basically what I've been hearing, too, from the big Batman fans, that it was kind of hit and miss at best, kind of a thing. So
Yeah. So that's the end of my rant on that book.
Any other DC books we want to talk about? How about DC news?
Crossover.
Yes, God Almighty! I thought, somewhere in my dream of dreams, I thought we're gonna go a year, and then it'll be some big whatever, right? We're gonna
hate
go
being
a year.
right. I hate being right. I really do.
We aren't even gonna go a freaking quarter into the fiscal year, and we're already gonna have a crossover in the Batman titles with what Batman and Detective and Nightwing. I believe. It's the Monster Men of Gotham or something like that is what it's called. It's I guess I'm going to call it the brainchild of Steve Orlando. He is writing the concept. He is writing the first issue and the last issue of it. And then I believe, and I don't know for positive, I believe that middle issues are written by the creators in their own books in some sense or another. So, and the concept art and the first issue and last issue are done by Ryan Rosmo. Yeah, Ryan Rosmo. So I don't know if this is going to work out to where it's going to be the thing that lands in the middle that gives the artists that are on the regular books the break that they need to either to have some time off or to get themselves back up in front of these double shipping or whatever. So if that's part of the concept behind this, I guess I'm okay with that. Giving me a in-between story while all those people charge back up into going. I mean, one part of me says I'm okay with this because I'm getting most of those books anyway. So, I mean, I'm already there and committed. But at the same time, fuck, I am just sick of crossovers.
Well, because I had that shadow of a doubt. Every time I was saying there's going to be this huge Watchmen event, it's going to be every book, it's going to be tied in, it's going to take up it's going to clog everything. You were like, no, not going to happen. Not going to happen. And now there's a part of me that's like, no, he's wrong. It's going to happen.
I was like Luke Skywalker when he found out he was your father. He's like, no!
Right. The concept sounds cool. I mean, just briefly I kind of looked at it. I mean, it's my kind of a story.
What's it about?
Literally some giant monsters storming through Gotham.
Well, I was wondering because that sounds like the one where
it's based off of the Japanese
Kaiju Max.
Yes, Kaiju Max. Thank you. It's based off that. So I'm kind of. I mean, that's kind of something I would have fun with. I just wish that it was its own thing, as opposed to being a crossover. Why not let those creators, let Orlando and Rosmo, do a miniseries that has those characters, and they do that? I'd buy it. I would happily be excited to buy it. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be going, son of a bitch, about it being a crossover thing. Unless this is their answer, unless this is part of their answer to give some of those people breaks that they need, then okay, if that's going to be the in-between, if this is their version of a filler issue, maybe I'm okay with that. I don't know.
I was say, assuming Batman, Detective, and Nightwing all double ship throughout this. You already have Batman and Detective on off weeks. Where does Nightwing fit in? And if Nightwing fits in one of those 2 weeks, which issue do you read first in the crossover?
Oh, yeah. They'll probably tell you, but yeah, that's going to be a pain.
Well, there's crossover and there's crossover, right? There's one where we're telling different elements of something that's not necessarily a chronological order. And then there's crossover like in Marvel's Spider-Women, where you literally needed to read the right issue in the right order to know what's going on. But then there's other stuff that's kind of like, I guess if it's a crossover and not a tie-in, I guess that's the difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tie-ins, you read it whenever you want to. Crossover has to be read in a particular fashion. So you're right, Brandon. I don't know. Hopefully that's going to be well numbered somewhere. I don't know. I mean, it's a crossover, and so it's a dirty word. This one, I have to admit, in particular, I'm not as hateful of because I'm already reading a lot of that stuff, and it's a story that I think I'd be interested in anyway. If it would have been announced in a Green Lantern book first, I mean, it would have been F this right away. I mean, I would have already been planning to dropping it already. So I don't know. It sucks. It sucks though, because I think I got the impression that it was going to be a while. The creators were going to write their own stories. They weren't going to have line-wide things, forcing the creators to tell not their story but somebody else's story. Yeah, I don't know. And this doesn't feel that way. We're already starting to backpedal. But it's not a damn Watchmen crossover, so that'll be at the end of the year.
What's gonna happen though is I'm gonna be at work. I'm gonna be on lunch like I am. I'm gonna open Twitter and I'm gonna have like 9 notifications right away and be like, oh no, they announced it. Because people will love to rub that in. Because
Yes.
I do not want that Watchmen crossover under any circumstances.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Any other DC news?
I heard one piece of DC news, but maybe it was already out there and I just heard it late.
What's that?
This new Raven miniseries, 6-parter.
Yeah, I read
now,
it.
Has that been out there for a while?
Wasn't
Written by Marv
there
Wolfman.
wasn't there kind of an
September.
announcement wasn't there kind of an announcement that was going to happen back with the DCU?
Mhm.
The YOU, that was one of the titles that they announced then, and we just never saw it. I just kind of
Yes,
assumed
it's
it was
coming
never going to
for
happen.
September. And I forget who the artist is, but Wolfman's writing it. So with Wolfman writing it and Raven, I think we already know who the villain's going to be. Anybody who
Trigon the
yeah, of
Terrible.
course, it's got to be Trigon. But that might be kind of throwback fun in a way that this
It'll be
Swamp
Swamp
Thing was at least supposed to be, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I'll probably end up picking it up. Who am I kidding? Between the character and the writer, I'll pick it up and regret it. Probably, I don't know. Part of me hates going and picking up some of these writers from back in the day because I loved them back in the day, and then I hate reading it now and
You know what it is.
the
Here's what it
dream
is.
is shattered. The dream is shattered.
It's one of your favorite band from when you were kids coming into
Oh.
town, and you go and they're like, "We're only playing stuff off our new album," and you're like, "Oh no, it's
I
the
guess.
exact same film."
Yeah. And you just, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'll probably pick it up and lament. I guess I don't know.
Might be fun.
Yeah. Any other DC news? No, I don't think so. Haven't heard of any more exclusives or anything like that. So we want to head on to Marvel books then. I don't have many, so my Marvel books keep getting canceled, and
Yeah.
so
I'm on Marvel free zone this week.
yeah. I have Hellcat issue number 7. I'm not really enjoying it. This one had Jessica Jones in it. The conflict that's kind of been going on for the last 2 or 3 issues, what little conflict there is in this kind of silly book, gets resolved in this issue, in that Patsy Walker gets the rights back to her comic book, because there's a comic book about her life. It's basically like an Archie comic book about her when she was a kid and all that kind of stuff. She ends up getting the rights back in this issue, and it really wasn't that good. The first, 5 issues of this was kind of a fun book. Yeah, they were kind of doing a little bit something different. It was cute and amusing, and now it's just kind of, for me, has lost all of that. So I think this is the last issue I'm actually getting. I dropped it a while ago. I think this is the last issue that's being shipped to me. I'm more than likely going to be replacing this with Josie and the Pussycats when it comes out in September or October, to be this kind of an element of a fun kind of a comic. I'm hoping that one will be more fun. So yeah, it wasn't enjoyable. So
There's a
I
pull
like-
quote for you. Travis. Ugh.
thanks,
Pull
Trey.
quote.
Yeah. I won't be getting any of those, that's for sure, not from Marvel. The only other Marvel book I picked up was Black Widow.
Black Widow.
Haven't
Issue
read
number
it
4.
yet. I'll be back.
Okay.
All right.
Brandon, what'd you think?
I actually read 3 and 4 back to back. For some reason, I didn't get to 3 until this morning. Or
Sure.
yeah, this morning. Still liking it. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that I haven't already said. Not much dialogue, very, very visual storytelling throughout the book. Kind of saw the ending. Like I kind of saw that before it happened. The kind of the cliffhanger at the end with, I guess, her sister or I don't know if it's a sister or just another student.
Yeah, a younger student at the training orphanage that she was at. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, art-wise, it's fantastic. I love Chris Samney. I mean, I don't know what else. This is one of those books. It's really tough to talk about something new each issue.
Mike?
I'm having trouble with this one.
Well, like both of you have mentioned, the story is told by the artist, and I think we kind of saw that because it's Sammy and Wade. I don't know if Wade is just kind of helping him structure it or what, but I mean, you can tell that it's the artist's story. I do like that this has gone a little further out than just her versus S.H.I.E.L.D., which is what I was a little worried it was going to be kind of at first.
Right.
We're definitely getting to know Natasha by her history, seeing her go through the school. And then I'm trying to remember what keeps her young, if she has infinity formula in her, or because they imply that she's younger than what she should be, and then this other girl is also young too.
Right. They've all aged except for her, basically.
Yeah.
Her teachers and everything. I mean, she's reached a certain age of adulthood and just kind of seems to have not. She's been living a good life, and clearly they haven't, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just like it. I mean, it definitely deepened her character, and doing so much by art instead of having exposition, I thought was really nice.
Yeah, it's all Samney and Wilson, the colorist on this book. It really is them telling the story. It's their sequential art. So much of it is visual eye candy. There is some dialogue that's in it, but there's lots of this kind of stuff where it's these sprawling pages of different things going on, different elements. Seeing her, seeing what she's seeing both her and then seeing through her eyes what she's potentially looking at and whatnot, and then the color elements of us having flashbacks and all this kind of kind of a pinkish red tone. All of our flashbacks and stuff are really easy to ascertain based on the cues by the colorist. There's some interesting elements in here. Clearly, her past is coming back to haunt her, as far as a lot of the Spire ring setup that she had, structured to kind of gotten rid of in some sense is now back, and she's being challenged by yet a better version of herself potentially. And there's some interesting spy elements to it in the fact that there's, who it is that's asking for this documentation. We still don't know that. Who is she passing this information to at the end? I don't know that either. But as far as this element at the end, who this man is, I don't know if we know who that is. But I'm really enjoying it. I mean, because it's the Samney show, and I'm okay with that.
I have a question about that book. I haven't picked it up. Does it feel like they're going for something a little more long-term, or is that one of those Marvel books that obviously feels like it has about a 12-month shelf life?
Well, that's a good question. And, I don't know. I could see it ending in 10, 12 issues or whatever, 2 trades. I could see it ending that soon. Because this issue ends them setting up the element of a conflict that's going to come in the future. She's not up to full speed because she's been wounded. There's this woman who wants to best her so she can be the best, to prove her point. So now Black Widow is going away to heal up, and at some point they're going to have a conflict with each other again. When are we going to see that element happen again? I'm not 100% sure.
Issue 4?
This is issue 4. So I don't know, like I said, so I don't know that if we have a longevity past that for this Black Widow. There needs to be a new story. So I don't, I can't see the elements of what's happening right now going for a couple of years. but I could see it being 2 arcs, to really get it all done.
Yeah,
And, this arc, she finishes up the spy end of it. We've got the element for the next arc and this conflict she's going to have with this other woman. We spend the next arc doing that. Potentially as a guess, but I don't know that we're going to get beyond that. I don't know.
So Marvel now coming in September, October, they're staggering a rollout. That could be one that doesn't make it out the other side.
Right, for sure. Or when the book, it'll start up again with a new #1, right, and have completely different new people on it.
Yeah.
Could be. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that if that's ends up being what it is. I mean, I'll if it keeps the quality of this and whatnot, I will keep reading it. It doesn't seem to show that it's going to in any way be hit by the secret Civil War stuff. So that makes me happy to keep reading it too, because it's not going to be tied into that in any sense. So yeah, I don't know, but that's a good question, and you're probably right. Now that you've said that, it'll probably be done with now. So, offhand, you're safe to come back now.
Okay.
We have one question for you, because maybe you are have a little more knowledge than us. Is there something about Natasha that keeps her at basically the same age that she is, young all the time? I mean, has she been dipped in infinity, whatever, that you're aware of?
I remember it was a part of the experimentations when she was trained.
Oh, okay.
There is something to it.
Okay. It gets mentioned in here, and the rest of us that are reading aren't familiar with what that is. So we'll be talking on Twitter after you're done reading it to find out what you can tell me about that. So cool. Or somebody in the chat, which has been very quiet tonight. Somebody in comments will hopefully let us know in some sense. There. I guess you're there. You light him up, Ryan. So
is Fred there?
Well, he was on long enough to say hi. Everybody said hi, and then that was it. But there's viewers. Don't get it wrong, all you people out there. There's at least 9 people on all the time. So, any other Marvel books?
Yeah.
What do you got?
I gotta put my ice cream down. Hold on.
Oh, ice cream.
Dude, homemade, dude. It's killer. Anyway.
Wow. You just went outside and stuck it in the snowbank, right? And
Yep.
brought it in. Nice.
Uncanny X-Men. Yes, I'm still reading this. New artist, Ken Lashley. So that he did the beginning of Secret Six, this last run of that. So take that for what you will. The coloring is far better than that, though. So this is the more active, let's save the mutants team. Cullen Bunn knows how to write Magneto incredibly well, if anyone's read that run.
Oh, you say new artist, so it doesn't have Greg Land on it anymore.
No.
Oh, so now see, I might be interested.
In this issue, and the other thing I'm liking, I'm not having to read the other two to know the Apocalypse stuff. This is what they're doing to deal with it. They're in the Morlock tunnels, and the Morlocks are being cleared out, and they're like, we need someone to save us. We need someone to help us out. Sabretooth jumps down, and he's the new Sabretooth. He's the new, but they see him, and they're like, oh, it just got way worse.
Yeah, right. I thought we were gonna die. Now we know we're gonna die.
Yeah. And he's trying to convince them, no, I'm here to help. I'm a different guy now, and all that. And so they're dealing with that, and Callisto's kind of thinking like, I should kill him right now. I have the opportunity. He killed a good chunk of us. I should kill him now. And then the rest of the team shows up, and but I love that tension throughout the whole thing of them just being like, this guy's helping us, but when's the other shoe gonna drop? Just kind of a short, simple story, and then we have Psylocke fighting Phantom X. And he's like, I have that thing that blocks you from psychically attacking me right here, and she throws her sword and it just, boom, breaks instantly. And he's like, oh no. And so they're going back and forth. Just really good X-Men storytelling, something I haven't seen in years. Like, if you're into the X-Men from the 90s especially, this is right in there. I also picked up Ant-Man. It's literally the plot of the movie with more characters.
Oh, I'm so glad I bailed.
I have it, but I haven't read Ant-Man yet.
That's a bummer.
That's kind of what I was getting from people too. Yeah.
Didn't Civil War 2 #2 come out this past week?
Yeah, I haven't been touching that.
None of us
Me neither.
No.
But yeah, Uncanny. I think it's if you're gonna hop on it, now's the time.
Cool. I wanted to. I wanted to with Bunn writing it the way he wrote Magneto. I wanted to be on. I can't do Greg Land, and I wasn't gonna fool myself like I did reading a couple issues of Punisher where I wanted to stab my eyes out. I wasn't gonna do that again. So.
That is still the funniest. I was like, I can get past this. And then I turned the page, and the dude's face, he looks like a cashew. Just.
So anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna hunt that down.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go to my local store that's gonna close in less than 30 days, and I'll pick that issue up. So. Any other Marvel books? Anybody? No,
Nope.
boy, Marvel's taking a serious hit. I don't know. You know how much of it's the. For me, I don't know how much of it's the Rebirth stuff. It's not like I'm dropping Marvel books to pick up Rebirth things. It's the fact is that Marvel has been actively dropping the books that I've been reading. So, you know, it's
And
for some of
their
them.
price point too.
Yeah.
You know, $4 or $5 or more. So.
I do have a couple more, but I haven't read them yet.
Okay.
So.
Somebody's still buying Marvel books in the family.
Yeah.
Good. Any Marvel news nuggets or anything like that we need to talk about?
One very interesting potential one. Did you see the tweet from Marvel Studios about Ghost Rider?
No. What's that?
They tweeted out, and there's been a lot of speculation the other day. It was a picture of Rollins and a picture of Ghost Rider, and it just said, Marvel, welcomes actor, musician, activist Henry Rollins, and then a picture of the speculation is that
I'd be down
Rollins
with
is
that.
going to be
That's
cast
That's
as
awesome.
Ghost Rider.
Because he can sing his own theme song.
Yeah, I know. He
Ghost
could.
Rider.
It could be all it means. I mean, I don't know. But apparently he was there,
Yeah.
from what I understand.
Ah.
So I wonder, there has been talk that Ghost Rider was going to spearhead Phase 2 of the Marvel Netflix deal. And certainly if you've seen, do you guys all have Netflix?
Oh yeah.
Okay, did you check out a little movie called He Never Died?
Oh,
It's on there
yeah.
right now.
I haven't
Do you
watched
know what
it
I'm talking about?
yet. Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent Rollins flick. I could sort of see it. It's sort of depressing to consider that it might be the final corporate sellout for Henry Rollins. But
Yes.
I guess that's been a years-long sludge anyway.
Yeah.
But I would watch Ghost Rider with Rollins. Absolutely.
He can't get any lower than the Wrong Turn movie he was in, which was.
Oh man, that was stupid fun though. That was stupid fun. And wasn't he on Sons of Anarchy? I've never seen the show, but yeah.
He was good in it too. He was actually really good in
I
it.
could see him. Yeah, I mean, there's certain roles that he can really. If you've not seen He Never Died, I couldn't. I mean, most people, if you follow my shit online, you know I'm a massive horror junkie. I could not recommend He Never Died strongly enough.
So the lesson here is, if you want to play some superhero, you need to write a song about it first and sing it, and sing it at least 20 years in advance of when you might get to actually play the character. Right?
Well,
That would work.
poor
that would
Nicolas
work.
Cage, though. Poor Nicolas Cage. Those movies were so good.
Nicolas Cage in that first movie, it worked because when Cage is playing Elvis, he does all right. It's the only role he can really do. Wild at Heart.
Wild at Heart. Yeah.
First Ghost Rider. Leaving Las Vegas, he was Elvis with a lot of problems. But he can do that part all right. But yeah, by the time they get to that second one, so anyway, the speculation out there in a Twitterverse and all that is, and amongst some of the more rumor mill-centric YouTube channels, is that Rollins was there at Marvel and they put this out because an announcement is forthcoming that he will be Ghost Rider.
I know. I'll be cool if it happens. I would not put any money on it whatsoever.
It was the only interesting Marvel tidbit of news I heard this week.
That's fun.
Well, I mean, if you've read any interview with him, if he gets offered a role, he'll take it.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, speaking of him, we hear now that he was up for Negan.
Yeah.
In the Walking Dead TV show.
I think he would have done a better job.
He tried out for it, so.
I like the guy.
Well, I don't know if he would have been charming, but he certainly would have been frightening.
Yeah, that's what I want. I didn't find that guy frightening. I found him to be kind of like, oh, this guy's, nah.
Yeah, of course he's frightening because you're tied down and he's got a big ass baseball bat. But beyond that, yeah. But anyway, so no other Marvel stuff. That was quick. Let's roll on to independent books, shall we? What do we want to talk about that we've read in the world of semi-independent, semi-creator-owned books?
I've got a couple I'd be curious to know if anyone else is picking up.
Go ahead.
And if not, I can't recommend both of them strongly enough. Anyone jump on Tales from the Dark Side?
I did.
I missed out on getting that.
Love the
Kicking
show.
Okay. Yeah, well, this is Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez.
Oh,
Yes.
all
Yeah,
right.
Lock and Key, right?
Wait, Mike, the best is yet to come.
Oh.
So, this is Joe Hill had...
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
a few years back. And they scuttled it before it ever came out, but he's taken 3 of his scripts. One's going to be a 2-parter, and then there's going to be 2 1-parters. And, it's a nice little fun, be careful what you wish for, morality play type horror story.
All right.
Nothing overly complicated, but just an excellent little standalone story. And, of course, you've got the Rodriguez art. There's a splash.
Yeah.
My full review of this should be up on Daily Grindhouse next Wednesday for my Wednesday Grindhouse comic. But, the art's nice. It's a really fun story. It feels more like you'd expect from a Rod Serling Twilight Zone or Night Gallery thing than Tales from the Dark Side, which was basically just standalone stories with no thematic connection. But it was really good. It had a nice ending, and it's a very good self-contained story. But the big news from this, even more so than the book itself, is the house ad in the back.
Yes.
I'll try to hold it up there. That just says, in 2013, the world of Lock and Key came to an end, or did it? Please join us in October 2016. And then the next page actually solicits it for December 2016, Lock and Key, Small World. So, either in October or December, Lock and Key is coming back.
Yeah.
Yep. But I think, I think that this book will get... Tales from the Dark Side was an excellent little standalone anthology horror story that will probably get some attention. And hopefully if it does, maybe the same network suits that kind of scuttled it the last time around. They wouldn't do that to a project from Joe Hill's dad, but they'll do it to him. Hopefully they'll take notice because it was a fine little story.
I was not familiar with Tales from the Dark Side, the TV series, at first. I didn't know anything about that. I picked it up purely because it's from the creative team at Lock and Key, and I almost missed it. Like I saw this in my list like on Tuesday. I'm like, oh, because I figured somebody would have talked about it being another book from the creators from Lock and Key, but I didn't hear anything about it. So that's why as soon as I heard about this, I tweeted to Running with Comics. I know he's a big Lock and Key guy, and he didn't even know about it. So I don't know. It didn't seem like there was a lot of buzz surrounding it.
Well, I didn't know. Maybe I'm just slow on the uptake, but I didn't know. I think they've been keeping it under wraps. I did not know they're coming out with a new Lock and Key at the end of this year.
Me neither.
Did any of you guys know that?
I had heard about this a couple months ago, and I thought it was later, so that's why I missed it. And then I just heard last week about maybe doing 1 or 2 one-shots for Lock and Key.
It's happening.
Yep.
So that's an
IDW book, right?
Yes.
That was the first thing I really wanted to talk up, and I had one more. because I don't know if any of you guys are on this one. From Fantagraphics, Hip Hop Family Tree.
I've heard of it.
Well, these were graphic novels in a huge, oversized format by Ed Pisker. Writes, draws, colors, letters, the whole thing. And it's, a documentary history of hip-hop. I am not the world's biggest hip-hop fan, but this is on old-school newsprint, pre-yellowed. They've taken the oversized graphic novels, and now they're putting them out as monthly singles, which is interesting. They're up to about the early 80s here. First appearance on the scene of, like, KRS-One, people like that. The art is incredible. He's a terrific artist. Beastie Boys are making the scene now. And then in the back, he's also a teacher at NY School of Visual Arts, and he turns over the backup strips to students of his with comic strips. So they're getting, it's like old school anthology format stuff. A couple different promising new cartoons. And then, like, he's got, in the inside front cover, he's usually got himself posing with someone famous or someone that's come to one of his signings or a convention. So here this month around, we've got
Clinton, huh?
Looks like Mr. Clinton got himself a copy of Hip Hop Family Tree. So, the art's amazing. If you like slice of reality stories, and his portrayal of Russell Simmons is just hysterical. If you like real slice of life comics that offer a legit cultural history, because this isn't just about the music, but the whole art scene around hip-hop, the graffiti scene, the influence of people like Fab Five Freddy, Debbie Harry, and the Andy Warhol, and some of the Studio 54 type scene that interacted with hip-hop. I honestly feel like Hip Hop Family Tree is one of the 2 or 3 best comics coming out right now from anybody. I can't recommend it highly enough. End of my plug.
I've heard of the book. I've seen it. I've seen stuff about it when I've been at cons, but I've never actually picked it up.
It's one of those things that as you read it, you think to yourself, wow, this is a really stunning accomplishment what he's done here. And you don't get that feeling depressingly not too often in comics these days.
No.
So do you want to talk Lazarus?
Oh, sure. Lazarus issue number 22 finally comes back after what seemed like an extremely long hiatus, other than that source book. Whew.
God. So it starts out just kind of really depressing. You're like, oh yeah, this is the world I've decided to look into. Legs gone. They're kind of burnt up, just messed up as can be.
She's wrecked, right? Yeah.
I mean, it starts out with that action sequence, kind of like a kind of prelude to things to come, where they're jumping on the plane.
Right.
And then
commando thing, yeah.
Hold on, I'm stirring some food. I ate the ice cream first, yes. But it's kind of slow, kind of getting us reacclimated to the world. At first I was like, oh, this is kind of slow, and then it cuts to about the middle. Does not play games anymore. It's just a pure action sequence, and then all of a sudden, this He-Man dressed, and I was like, where have I seen him before? Because I haven't read the comic in
6 months.
Who is that? Who's the guy at the end with the?
He's the Lazarus for Hawk. He's the guy that wanted to fight, forever, and of course, but Hawk himself decided to, play games and had, Bittner, who's supposed to be his ally at the time, had Bittner's Lazarus do the fight instead. But clearly he's a roided out meathead. I mean, because Hawk is that's kind of their thing, is right. Their entire army is pumped up on pills. That's how they. Mm-hmm. Well, not just the army, right? We've seen
everybody's
New York, where literally it's like a game of Paranoid, where they where the voice comes over the speakers and says it's time to take your yellow pill now, and the entire city picks up their yellow pill and takes their yellow pill. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of their thing, and so you just know he's just kind of roided out pinhead kind of a, so that's going to be, if we get that fight next issue, that's going to be nuts.
Yeah, because it's two distinct styles going at each other.
Right.
I mean,
yeah, but we kind of get that impression that each of these, I mean, all of the Lazarus seem to run around with a sword. That seems to be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, they're all kind of, versions of souped-up humans, and they're all different from each other. I mean, that one Lazarus from, I can't remember the family that's way in the south, that's like South America and Mexico and whatnot. Their guy is old school. He's like one of the first Lazarus, and he's more like Terminator. I mean, underneath his flesh, he's got lots of metal plates and whatnot. Whereas Forever, she's all high tech, bio type stuff. I mean, she literally in this issue, she's missing limbs, and they're trying to figure out how to shut her system down, how to shut her healing system down, so they can get new limbs attached because she's healing so fast that they're having to like lop parts of her off to try and stick the legs back. It's like, it's no problem. We've got a leg set and waiting here to put on her. We've got to shut so much of her system down, her healing down, so we can get it reattached because it's, the stub is healing off so fast and whatnot.
I like that they're trying to help her, not to help her. It's like their intentions are, we need her. It's not like, oh, I care about this person.
Yeah, it's like, and they're like, oh, it's going to be 8 weeks before she's back. No, I need her in 4. Screw that. We've got to have her battle ready in 4 because we're in this war with this other family. It's just all kinds of craziness going on as far as that goes. Some of the quieter elements in this, her dad has regained some level of consciousness now. He's been poisoned on death's door for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 issues, at least more than an arc. He's been wiped out. There's stuff that hasn't been addressed that I'm really interested to see if they ever address. Some of the stuff that happened in like the first arc. The hints that Forever maybe not what she thinks she is. I mean, I guess they're addressing it in a different way. She's not exploring it, but we're getting to see it. Because the bomb that was dropped last issue, the end of the last arc, the whole, I don't even know if I want to say that just because if anybody's reading the thing in trades, but that makes your head spin. At least it did me. Issue, I put that down going, what the total F? I was
just mad that I was like, oh, I'm not going to find out what happens for...
Right.
But it didn't matter. It really didn't, because in this issue, you don't... I just like that the break kind of did hurt some elements, like I had to kind of recollect a little bit, but other than that, it was like, okay, no, I'm hopped right back in this. It's an effed up world where the powerful are very self-interested, very much, they want, it's so, I like that element of the story where it's like, they want to put out an air of, no, we care, we're and they treat everyone like dirt, and their own self-interest is very much paramount to everything else. I don't know that
this is supposed to be fiction.
Well, that's part of what makes it good and terrifying at the same time, is that it plays so close to a potential not that far away future. I mean, in all elements, I think they do a very good job of looking at the kind of potential science that's out there, as far as the science elements that are in this, as far as like the bio stuff that she has going on, the elements other people are using, the warfare that they use. Those are all, kind of elements that are all there. I mean, the one thing I think this book is lacking on the urban warfare front is you don't see enough drone warfare. I would think that would, I mean, with as popular as the United States has at least made it for themselves to go, blow stuff up other places, you'd think there'd be more of those elements. But
yeah, there's no
but they're so close. Everything that's in this book is stuff they're working on. It's not like it's way out there fiction. It's stuff there are scientists who are we're trying to figure out how we can make this happen. So that grounds it really well. The corporate politics, because it really is. It's like 6 or 7. Well, what is it, 100 families, something like that. 100 families own the world, literally. These corporations that are really families. And they have a stranglehold. Like, there's no like, oh, they're gonna uprise and take, no. Right. And I don't think you have to be very cynical to kind of look at a lot of chunks of corporate America, the Koch brothers, and some of those other elements like that, and realize that there are parts of this that are not that far out, So the book is really, really good, but also really depressing if you start to really think about how close this. Because I don't want to live in this place.
Yeah,
you know, because
I
I
try to
know
have something light after.
because I know that I'd be lucky if I was a serf. Chances are I'm waste. You know, I mean, they actually have tiers of how they dictate what you are as a person. There's the families, then there's serfs, which are regular Joe people who have assets that are valuable to making the company move forward. And when I say assets, like serfs are like doctors and high-level scientists. Those are the serfs. Everybody else is waste. That's just the people that are milling about, that are in the way, or they need them to move product from one place to another. So it's really frightening, really frightening all those elements. But it's such a good book.
Give that first trade at least a shot.
Yeah, I'm
out.
kind of shocked you're not reading it, to be blatantly honest. It seems right up your alley.
You know, one only has so much money and time, right?
I hear you. It's good, though. It really is good. This is the kind of thing I recommend to anybody unless I know you are turned off by corporate geopolitics and violence. If those things turn you off, then stay away from the book. But it has lots of great elements in it along those lines. And like I said, it does a very good job of playing really, really close to elements that could really exist. So it makes it very, very tangible and very consumable from that standpoint too. So, yeah. Good and depressing stuff. Mike, did you pick this up?
Yes, I did. I am enjoying it thoroughly.
Oh, in June.
Yeah. And I think we've just seen the birth of Santa, because I think at the end, the powers they shoot into him are going to be what makes him the true Santa. But the story is just getting better and better. I like that we've now encountered the bad enemy, that the evil Duke has really shown that he does have some power and strength. So.
Right, that they mined out of the mine. Yes, they dig this fairy demon thing out of the mine, and it's hungry for children.
Yep, the Krampus. Yep.
Yeah, that's totally. Oh, Mike, you nailed it.
Yeah.
That is totally.
It is.
I thought
it's cool.
Okay, cool. I thought the story was a real nice push forward in this issue, because I had thought it kind of. I mean, the art's been killer throughout, but I thought there was kind of a lull in the story, maybe around number 3, 4 type of thing. And now I'm really looking forward to the ending, because I think the last issue or two has really kicked this into high gear.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at too. The art is gorgeous. Dan Mora. I mean, that cover alone is just.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't really care for that element, but I mean, the whole sleigh being pulled by these mad dogs is damn exciting. But yeah, that's kind of where I was, Ryan. Like you, the middle issues here. Matter of fact, I missed an issue. I missed issue. I think it was 4. Somehow I didn't order it, and I couldn't tell that I'd missed anything. To be quite honest with you, I have no idea. I mean, whatever elements happened to that meant nothing to the story as far as that goes. So, but this issue was exciting and cool. It had some great elements in it, and you're right, Mike. I think they tie him out on the snow. You see what's coming, and I think we kind of get the impression that that's where we're going to get the full-on white beard madman coming down to save the world.
He didn't need the magic mushrooms to see them this time. That was the other thing. Right. After all the other drugs, when he had that kid drag him in, I thought that's what he was going to do. But
don't you guys know this story already? Isn't this the story of Santa Claus, right?
Yeah.
The claymation version, I mean, we're waiting for Frosty.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Yeah, I'd always wondered that as a kid, because I never, I should probably read that.
It would be educational for you. Yes, it would.
Yeah, okay.
I know you were on it, Mike, but I remember because you always talked about it when it came out. Tonally and in terms of some of the big art spreads in this and stuff, doesn't it remind you a little bit of Rasputin?
Yes. Yeah.
I knew that was a book that was right up your alley.
Yeah, you're right. It does. It has those kind of snowy elements and whatnot, and some of the crazy stuff that's going on. And for a Grant Morrison book, this is tame though.
Yeah.
Oh, very accessible. Yeah.
It's really surprising from that. I mean, I keep waiting for the kind of the weird meta thing to throw in somewhere or something, and it just has not happened. It has. I mean, and we got one issue. I don't think it's going to somehow suddenly fold on itself in some way that makes it. Yeah.
Though,
so
right at the end, the little fairies and the geographic, or the geometry.
The runes.
Yeah, well, the runes, the geometry, even where we start to see it with the sleigh. That's the kind of stuff I was starting to wonder about, because that was getting a little outside of the story we understood, because there's these bug things that have the runes, and evidently they're the elves or the fairies, I guess, for the storyline. So it's interesting to see what elements he took and then just warped. So
yeah. Anybody else pick up Pencilhead?
I sure did.
I did.
So what do we think? This is the end.
I mean, it's the end of a comic book, so you can't be too harsh on it, because comic books are notorious for having bad endings. Yeah. I loved this series.
Yeah.
Loved it. If I could make money talking trash about places I used to work, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just great.
I mean, in this issue, he turns it on the fan to some degree. Kind of takes some level shots at the cons and the fans that go to those cons. You know, his experience with that. So I guess as a reader, you could potentially take offense to, you know, it's all fun and games. He's taking shots at those, you know, big guys working for the corporate comics, but then he starts taking shots at the fans. I don't know. But I mean, I love Ted McKeever. I love his work. I mean, you know, I read this and I had lots of fun with it. It's fun watching him poke fun at all this stuff. At the same time, it kind of bums me out if he's really had a bad or hard experience, just because I love his work. I love the work he was doing for DC, the weird stuff that clearly, by his dictation, you know, in the last issue, Dan Didio hated. So
that's not shocking, though.
No, it's not. It's not. Dan wants nothing outside of the box. That's, you know, no surprises there and stuff. But yeah, I loved it. I mean, the ending of it was funny. You know, I what's next, I guess, is for me. You know, whatever he's doing, I'm picking up. I'm boy.
I'm there with you. I can see why he already said that Shadowline has no plans to put this in a trade. Simply because it doesn't really, the first 2 or so issues, he had a narrative going, and then he kind of just decided, screw that, I'm just going to get some things off my chest. And that's fine. His little things, his jabs at some of the fan stuff, hopefully this won't get the video flagged, but did you guys read 8 Ball back in the day?
No,
I don't think so.
None of you have read 8 Ball. Whoa.
Yeah,
probably I mean, strong argument for probably the greatest comic series of all time, and I don't say that lightly at all. But there was a character in there named Dan Pussy. I don't want you to get flagged, but he was.
Okay.
He was one of the fans turned pros, and there were a lot of strips with him, you know, hitting cons and things like that. Really, that McKeever he's let him off easy compared to Klaus with some of those old Dan Pussy strips. But you know, I thought this was. You know, McKeever's got his own thing it has, and his stuff has never really had what you'd call super satisfactory wrap-ups.
Yeah.
Some of it ended abruptly. But yeah, this one, I can see why, you know, Shadowline already said we're probably not going to bother with a trade, because it just reads better in singles, and I hope they keep allowing him the freedom to do whatever the hell he wants to do.
Agreed.
Because not enough. There are a lot, you know, any guy and gal working at Image technically has the freedom to do whatever, but most of them are still sort of interested in genre fiction stories, and McKeever's just interested in pulling stuff straight out of his subconscious.
Art.
And it's sort of like, it's sort of like watching a Lynch flick in a way. More stuff like Simulated Man than this.
Yeah.
But I could definitely see the comparison, or a, Jodorowsky flick or something along those lines.
Yeah.
He's got his own thing.
Yeah, this book really felt. You're right. It started out feeling like it had some sort of story because this kind of, the weird characters that were popping out while he's riding on the subway train and whatnot. To me, that started out as standard McKeever kind of work as far as it having these weird elements and stuff. And then you're right. Then it became basically let's just slap the crap out of the big two. As these people who were in it, they I had these experience with kind of a thing. It became more of a webcomic. It felt like something that would have been a webcomic, something that he's just kind of on a day-to-day kind of picking on something kind of a thing or whatever.
The one person who came out of the whole thing smelling like a rose, though, and this is true in all historical accounts of comics. I don't care which company this guy happened to be at the time, but everybody, everywhere, always loved Archie Goodwin.
Yeah.
And Archie Goodwin is, the one guy in this whole, and Kirby, obviously he has a really good homage to Kirby, and I loved that he came right out and said he still thinks that Commandy #1 is the greatest comic of all time.
Yep, I love that.
That's pretty strong argument to be made for that. So the people that he admired and looked up to, and yeah, Archie Goodwin was the one guy who, even within the confines of the big two, managed to treat his creators ethically and fairly over the years, for him and fought for him. But the weirdest story that I have on guaranteed, as close to guaranteed as I can get you guys, is true, is Dan Didio really did walk into the wall at DC one time, just like he said. And it wasn't like the next day. It was a month or two after he had his office remodeled. He walked into the wall where the door used to be.
That's really funny.
I saw people getting. I saw some people not liking that he was taking shots at fans, and I think fandom needs to be taken down a peg every now and again.
Jesus Christ, yes.
So,
at least a couple pegs.
Yeah, so for me, it didn't bother me.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but if you've ever been to any sort of large con, those people are there. Those people are there. And he didn't pick on every single. I mean, there were cool fans there. There was the gracious fan. There was. I mean, it wasn't like every fan, because there's anybody who isn't reading this book. There's like a 2-page spread of just panels of single fans that he makes a comment about. They look like whatever they look like, kind of a thing. And not all of those were bad. It wasn't like clearly it's not like he hates everything about comics in all ways. He just wants to produce comics, get paid, and who cares whether people read it or not? I mean, he's clearly not saying that. And he points out his own demons that are in there, the things that make his life miserable too. So it's all in there. But I can see why the fan base might go, oh, wait a second, because no one should criticize them, which is ridiculous, because we as fans collectively, not maybe us here as a group, are horrible. We're horrible people lots of times. I mean, and especially in this era of social media, where we can go on and harass because the people allow themselves to be accessible. We don't have to wait till a con. We don't have to wait until San Diego Comic-Con to hunt them down to harass them. We can frickin' harass them anytime we want to, kind of a thing. So,
if you enjoyed this type of warts and all look at the industry, and you've got $10, or you can probably get it for $8 on Amazon to spare, get Klaus's Pussy. That's the name of the collection of all his damn Pussy strips. It's just like a 50, 60-page trade, and you will be amused to no end, because it's the exact same type of kind of warts and all look at the industry with some humor behind it, but sort of cutting-edge humor that's kind of like, yeah, this hits pretty close to home, but shit, it really is funny. I can't recommend that highly enough.
I also love his meeting Mobius in here too.
Yes.
Just the whole, everybody draws from the head up. This guy draws from the feet up. It's like, his head explodes. It's just like, meeting a creator that does something that's just so far out for somebody who I think is pretty far out there as far as his style, the way he, the way he addresses the page and whatnot, and characters. So I don't know. I just thought that was cool too.
Were you able to piece together who all the various stand throughout the course of the book?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much everybody was either, it was really obvious, it was really easy to figure out, who they were. I was thinking in this issue there was somebody that I was...
Because the one I wasn't so sure about was that Luthay's guy who was in the first couple issues, but that's Joe Kelly.
That is, okay.
Yeah. That was the one that was kind of... And a lot of people were wondering about the female creator he had in there, Marconi or something he called her. That's Dan Nocenti.
Right. I figured that. I figured that now just because of the era and who else was around.
Mm-hmm.
I just familiar enough with with who was working at that time for that part to be picked up on. I was thinking there was somebody in this issue that I was kind of like I didn't know who the hell. But I don't remember who it was now, so I guess it doesn't matter. But yeah, I don't know. I like I said, it was fun. It was fun, but I like prior issues better than this issue. But
oh yeah, I like the last issue the best because it was just a total tirade.
Oh yeah. Clearly he was just freaking done with corporate comics at that point. So.
And I loved him just taking it to House Roy for a couple of pages like he did. That was just terrific. That was, more power to him. More power to him.
Yeah. Well, clearly he's not concerned, about. Well, some of those people that he was going after, aren't even alive anymore. So, whatever, you can't. But even like Dan and whatnot, going after those guys, clearly.
It's not like he was gonna hire them back or anything.
No, heck no. So, at any rate, what else?
What do I have read? BPRD.
Brandon, what'd you read?
Clean Room?
Oh, let's talk Clean Room.
Yeah.
I have not read that yet, so go ahead.
This was actually the first book I read this week because of how the last issue went. Pretty much, the last issue really threatened that this whole status quo is going to shift completely. I liked it. I think now, because Astrid Mueller, since the very beginning, has sort of been played on the idea is she completely evil or does she have some good in her? And after this issue, I think I am swayed another certain way after this issue.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was kind of hoping for that status that them to actually go through with it. Actually, to be honest.
Right. Because that's kind of what I was too. It's like, okay, so if she really does die and like Chloe takes over, it turns the whole book kind of on its head. Now, okay, now what? We had this expectation for so many issues. Now we've just kind of we've thrown that out almost. Now we got this new expectation. What was that going to be? And we didn't get that. Now feels like we're literally back to the status quo. Here's Chloe back at the clean room again. She's at a disadvantage yet again. She's kind of been knocked off of her feet. I mean, she has some friends outside that could help her some, but now we're kind of back to this. So do you think you're talking about her being, is she evil or is she not evil? You say you've got an idea. I mean, what do you think? I personally, I don't know that she's evil. She's just obsessed. She is Ahab. She is Ahab, and she is hunting for her white whale, and her white whale is to take the demons in the sky out. Clearly, regardless of how they might help her, she is I don't know what you want to call it, bigoted or whatever, in that she does not care if you're helpful or not. Clearly, by the end of this, it shows, somebody basically saves her life and she has them nuked, just by dint of what they are.
Yeah.
Whether they were a good guy or not, does not matter.
But, I mean, that's the thing that we don't even entirely know is, I mean, we were told that the exorcism took care of Sparks. But we don't know that. I mean, there could be something else in there. So I guess that's what I always like is she gives us a lot of information, but always keeps enough questions that we can't actually say one way or another. on a lot
So
of
do you
this.
so do you think there's some level of concern that after Sparks gets in there and pulls the pieces of Bullet out and basically fix her, that he maybe did something to her?
Not that, but the fact that he couldn't even touch her because she still had the perfume on.
Right.
So that, I mean, you know, a rose is a rose by any other name. Even though he was supposed to be a good guy, who knows what base evil may still be in there, or
Mm-hmm.
that could change back. So I thought there's always the chance that he could flip.
Right, and so she's not. I mean, like I said, she's so rigid that she's not willing to
Yes.
entertain the possibility of there being anything else other than evil.
Yes, yeah. But I mean, it's also like when he says that he put all the knives in the tub to save Chloe. I mean, even with that, I mean,
Right.
it did help her, but I mean, if she, you know, something could have happened and those knives could have been used the other way. So,
yeah,
you know, it was interesting. Each person has the 3 or 4 sides to them, so that we can't just say. I mean, even with Chloe, I mean, it looks like she's the hero, the good person, but she knows she's screwed up. She knows she's got things she needs to do, and she's willing to, you know, bring demons along to help her or whatever. So it'll be interesting. All the characters continue to grow every issue, I feel.
Yeah.
At the same time, this one and the issue before, where they kind of, that romance with the cop kind of seemed to come out of left field, I feel like there's story elements in place allowing the creators to give this a quick wrap-up if they're not given much of a long leash from here on out. I know that this and Red Thorn are both selling atrociously, lower than a lot of those Vertigo books have already been canceled. But I think editorial is stuck with both for a little while, in a feeling that, you know, they could both build up some kind of a following or have some potential for other mediums.
Well, and they've also both hit their first trade like this month, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I think so they're waiting to see what that does for them.
Oh, for sure. Yes. Yeah. But I think that there's elements in place in both books, which I'm generally enjoying both, that will allow the creators to wrap things up quick if, you know, the writing is on the wall sales-wise. Because they're both, both of them fell out of the top 300 on Diamond's sales index for the last month, which is not a good sign.
Right. So this what you think they're hanging on to because it's Gale on it, and Gale has a fan base, and they're hoping that
she's got a fan base, and also I think they see potential there for it to maybe be picked up to be exploited in other mediums. You know, they can look at that and say, well, you know, this maybe has a TV pilot hiding in there somewhere, that kind of thing. Right. And I think that, but I think that at a certain point, if it keeps selling around 4,000 or something, or where the numbers aren't even being tracked anymore because it's fallen off the list, then they just can't justify keeping it up. So I think the same goes with Red Thorn, because I think they've been hoping kind of the fantasy and fables type of crowd would jump on that one, and it just hasn't happened. And yeah, I think they were hoping that there'd be a big influx of Gail Simone fans from her superhero work onto this book, and it just hasn't. You know, it hasn't materialized yet either, which is a shame because it's an ambitious, multi-layered piece of work.
Right. I think it's some of her better stuff here.
Yeah.
In recent years, of what I've read. I mean, clearly I haven't read the Red Sonja stuff, so I have no idea as far as that stuff goes. So it's a bummer to hear that the sales have been poor on it. I don't care about the Red Thorn book. I haven't enjoyed it at all. So, no skin off my teeth there. But the Red Thorn book is owned. I mean, there's elements of that are spins off of other material that they already own, right?
No.
So no.
There's elements spun out of old Scottish myths, but there's nothing in there that came out of fables or came out of corporate owned. It's just that.
It just feels like.
Yeah, it's just that. Right. It's one of those things that they were hoping that the flavor was similar enough to appeal to your Sandman and Fables type fans.
Right.
And for some reason, just the Vertigo label is sort of a sales kiss of death. Right now, their top seller, Lucifer, and that's around 7,500, which is crazy low for a top seller on your line.
Right, for sure. Well, no, that's not true. Their top seller has to be Sheriff of Babylon.
No, Sheriff of Babylon sales are poor. Yep. They extended that to 12 because it's getting good critical reception and the things, but on the last, if you ever look at Comics Beat, they have great month-to-month. Yeah, the Sheriff of Babylon sales are really poor.
Really? Because I wouldn't think that'd be the case when they offer both writer and artist contracts, exclusive contracts, and
well, it's a strong work, and they recognize
in March. Well, the beginning of April, it was the #1 selling book.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's still going to be, you know, their to be #1 for Vertigo right now. You only got to sell about
10,000. Yeah.
Oh, 10 they'd be ecstatic. Yeah. So the last numbers I saw, which I believe was end of April or May, when they had, and like I say, check Comics Beat because you get great month-to-month comparisons in their sales charts. Sheriff of Babylon was something like 6,800.
Okay. Well, I don't 100% believe those sites that are telling us sales charts. Like, they're not giving us the entire thing. I don't. Oh, I think there's fallacies behind all of those numbers. I mean, but they're comparable. I mean, I get that you can compare everything that's there to know what is what, but there's invisible stuff that we don't know, that we don't get to see as far as sales numbers.
Digital numbers for one thing, because those are proprietary. But yeah, the only site that I go to for sales figures is Heidi McDonald's Comics Beat because they break it down so good, and it's month to month, year to year. The guy goes back all the way through 5 years comparing them. So if you ever have time to kill, which is not always easy these days, go on there and just check their thing for sales charts and look through them, and all your questions will be answered.
So getting back to the book, does anybody feel like we've just kind of gone backwards though with this issue?
Yes.
That Chloe felt like Chloe was like advancing where she was at. She was progressing somewhere to getting something to happen, and she had some leverage and some power, and it just feels like at the end of this issue it just all got taken away again. That now she's back to kind of being the kind of maybe if not clueless, certainly powerless again. Yeah. Or now is she going to be actually taken into the fold?
I think she is. I think she's going to be a bishop.
And not just walk away again?
Right, yes. Because of where she's at. Because, I mean, you know, whether Aster does take this vacation she mentions, or if that is in reference to when we see the giant alien structure.
Yeah.
If that means that they're going to try and go after them. Because it almost seems then to me that Aster's ready to start a war.
I don't know. I don't know what going on vacation means for that woman. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Well, because she went on the vacation with the two others where she got the orb, and that made me wonder if that's indication that they're going to go to one of these places. So
no. There's a lot of elements that the book ends quickly. Will be just dangling for eternity, I guess. So.
Well, let's hope it doesn't end quickly.
Yeah, same here.
I'll buy Gail dinner just to find out the rest of that story.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. The next con I'm at, that she's at, it's going to be... That guy with that beard was harassing me again.
Yeah, just hide the beard.
Yeah. What else do we want to talk about?
I got issue 20 of Manifest Destiny.
Right on.
I hear that's great stuff.
In the middle, probably 10 to 15, it was a little slow for me. I got worried, but this storyline, the Sasquatch 206, has really picked up. They find these giant skulls that are Cyclops-like, and they are following another group who has been destroyed by these Sasquatches. The guy, they tell the story, the first captain actually sees the ghost of a Spanish explorer who had gotten this far, and he was even being warned about the Sasquatches. And so it's really great to see this. So then you can see that there's all these parties that keep getting this far, and they get wiped out by the monsters. And that's the thing. It's kind of the monster of the month idea. So we're always seeing new monsters. But they find finally an arch that's been destroyed, and they say, well, what does that mean? And Lewis says to them, it means that they can be destroyed. So that's going to be very interesting to see. Are they going to start trying to tear this down? Is that how the West will be won? So yeah, it's continuing. It's really picked up the pace. I think they figured out what they need to do to keep the storyline going, making it very interesting. Travis, I'll let you know as soon as that little squirrely guy dies.
Okay.
But
would you mind opening it up and showing some of the interior art once, Mike?
Sure, yeah.
If they got like an impressive page or two.
Yeah, and try and see. I'll get you a good one.
Yeah.
We're with the Sasquatch. I mean, so of course, get my light correctly. There's our Sasquatch. He is a Cyclops, ginormous creature. Yeah. And I just enjoyed it. I mean, pretty much what you see on the covers of these is pretty much what you get in the book. You know, and it kind of looks like maybe some of the old comics that you would get about the Civil War, Revolutionary War kind of ideas. So
right, the art in it has elements of like the old classic illustrated.
Classics illustrated, yeah.
Because the characters have kind of ruddy noses and red cheeks, and you know, it just has some elements to it that are really cool. Back to that. Yeah, I always liked the art in it when I was reading it when it first started out and stuff.
And
for sure.
That's Matthew Roberts on pencil, and Tony Akins, Stephen Guadaldo inkers, and Owen Gwenny colorist. So
have they been doing it from the start?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. This whole team is carried on, and it is maintained exactly the. Like I said, the story seems to have sharpened up, but the art has been solid the whole way through.
For sure.
I'm gonna grab the first trade on that one for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're up to 3 trades now. Like I said, we're on to issue 20. So
CDC, you want to talk BPRD? Hell on Earth?
Sure.
142?
Where did I put it? Damn it. You got me onto BPRD. This was such a BPRD story in a lot of ways. Like, I immediately, so she's climbing down this well. She goes down this well, right? And I'm thinking, there's no way in hell I'd go down that well.
Right.
And the things she runs into at the bottom of this well, you're like, okay, why isn't she running? Why isn't she? And she starts talking to this thing like it's a child almost. Like,
yeah.
And it's this big giant red demon, and it lives in the bottom of this well, and it's eating people, just straight up eating people like beef jerky almost.
Yep.
And how long had you been trapped down there?
What? Well, let's see, 2 generations, right?
Yeah. And there's just a strewn thing of, like, when we were talking about Green Lanterns, and you said, "Oh, I don't know about those bodies."
Yeah.
He's just, and it's that fear of, like, what's the bottom of the well, and she's just comfortably, kind of.
Oh yeah, there's a demon standing there, and she's part of it is, there he is, there's the demon. And he's sitting on a big old pile of bones, and he's snacking on a little kid, because it's children he eats. That's what he's snacking on.
Yeah.
He's great though, because he changes the way he looks. Sometimes he's got this, looks like a minotaur, and then it reverts into this, man with, broken horns kind of a thing.
And then it kind of goes into like a bulldog almost head type look.
Right, and he's always shifting. So it's kind of cool. That's kind of a cool element to the character. But she's just, it's part of it is that she's just jaded enough that she's had enough experience. She just looks down. He's clearly trapped in this magic circle. She can read the magic circle. She knows that he's not only trapped, he's compelled to tell the truth. And she kind of jerks with him because she knows she can. Well, he's got a lot of power, and he kind of jerks back. But so we get kind of a brief history of why he's there, how he got trapped, what's going on. Because this is like a 3-part ghost story. In the first 2 issues, she finds the ghost, finds out what the problem is, and you think she's fixed it. Well, and then at the end of the last issue, she clearly hadn't resolved it. She thought she had, but no, it's not clearly fixed. And then, yeah, right, she finds this well house that she has to climb down the well. The funny thing is she's climbing down. You talk about her climbing down to the dark pit, and you're like thinking, there's no way in hell I would do that. I mean, she even comments, this is like the dumbest thing in the world, to be climbing down into a dark well all by myself kind of a thing. The fun thing is in reality, this is filler issues. This 3-issue arc is not the main story that's going on in the BPRD Hell on Earth. I mean, because the Hell on Earth is this great scope about how literally the world's being cracked in half, and monsters that are worse than Cthulhu are spewing out across the world, and everything is being devastated. They needed time to catch up on some of that story and fix some elements they needed to fix. So they called up Cameron Stewart, who didn't have time to actually write the story himself, but had the idea. And then got Chris Robinson and Mike Norton of Revival work to do the artwork on it, and they just told this 3-issue ghost story to kind of give them room to get caught back up on what they have going on in the greater scope of stuff. And I loved it.
Yeah,
because it has those classic...
Yeah, it was street level in a comic that has been worldwide, global, all that.
Right.
It's just so funny how it could come off. I mean, it does come off a little bit comedic.
Oh,
but
sure.
It comes off almost like, I guess that's how. Yeah, because whenever you start like a new job or something, you're like, oh, this is ridiculous. How am I ever gonna? And she's just at that point where it's mundane, and she's just so used to seeing these like giant creatures that are just like, ah, and she's like, all right, well, let's see what we got to do here.
Yeah.
She's like the town vet. She just
Yep. Exactly. It's on her house call. Okay. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed, like I said, I really enjoyed this this diversion from what the main story has been. It's just been a lot of fun. It's a book that I don't know, quite honestly, what's happening for the Mignola universe in the grand scheme of things, with Mike choosing to do some other stuff, Mignola to do some other stuff. So I don't know what. And John Arcudi who writes the main story, him leaving, what's going to happen. But I can continue to read this kind of stuff for forever. It's got the right kind of elements. Well, it's just like the Hellboy stuff. It's got some of that stuff before he died. It's got some comedic kind of the classic Hellboy line. Oh crap! The monster pops out at some point in the story. You go, oh crap, and then you deal with it. And I find that fun.
And then they turn, and all of a sudden there's an even bigger monster that's been watching the events go down all the time.
Yeah. So it's been fun. Yeah. Any other indie books we want to talk about?
Low.
Right on. Issue 14. The story is kind of split in half in this issue because we've kind of had story elements going on for the book, right? Up to this point, we've had the stuff going on with the sisters who are still under the water, and then we have Mom who's on the surface. What do we think?
And Remender said he was going to kind of keep it that. Well, he was just playing his card close to his vest, probably. He said he was going to keep it that way, rotating issue by issue. But yeah, he's got both his storylines coming to a head here.
Yeah.
That was just. Now this arc ends with the next issue.
Right.
So that's going to be big. Whatever's going down, it's going to be big. Because what happened there at the end, I didn't see that coming.
It's so weird because I fell in love with this book, fell out of love with this book, fell in love with it again, and then fell even more in love with it again. It's like been this weird kind of roller coaster where like you take something like Deadly Class, and I've just loved it head to toe. I don't know about this splitting it in half the way they're doing it.
Oh, I think they're going to meet up in next issue. That's my guess.
Okay.
I think bringing both storylines together one way or another, because I don't want to give away any spoilers out there for viewers that haven't read the book, but with what happens at the end here with the one particular daughter, I think that she's going to meet up with her mother probably in the next issue.
You think so? She's gonna
That's the
she's gonna
vibe
cover that much distance. You think she's going to cover that much distance that quickly because she has the suit, yeah?
Right, and remember, she's got the exact coordinates now of where to go.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Where the probe is at. Everybody knows where the probe is at now.
Oh,
And
yeah,
also
yeah,
there's
yeah.
some very interesting hints that the surface, that they might not have to go hit another planet. That if they can get whoever remains up to the surface, it might be perfectly habitable if they can just get the hell away from these radiation birds or whatever they're called.
Those butterfly things or whatever they were, yeah.
Yeah.
I love this book. I have never not liked this book. Visually, it is so gorgeous.
Yeah. That's where it's strongest.
I have to admit, I liked it better when Tuccini was doing his own colors. Not that
Yes.
not that Dove McCaig is doing bad on colors at all. It's just there are solid lines now where there weren't before, whereas lots of the stuff just kind of
bled
to the next whatever. It had this fluidity to it. Some of that fluidity is lost with the different colorists, but I still just really love the book visually. It's just, this page is just here for pure enlightenment of it being this gorgeous, walking upon the scene and going, oh my, how beautiful it all is, and it is. It's beautifully gorgeous. So the next scene can start down an ugly road. I don't know. I guess I'll be surprised if it all meets up at the end of this. I guess because of the stuff that's on the surface, what they run into at the very end, or what they're exposed to. I don't know what that's going to be. I guess I just have no idea for sure exactly where it's going to go. But yes, the stuff with the two sisters is absolutely nuts. Clearly the relationship was poisoned. I just wasn't sure how poisoned it was. So we kind of have a character now who is really the polar opposite of Mom.
Yeah.
Right? She is ugly and carrying despair and chaos with her, where Mom is back on the hope train.
Yeah, but I think if they're going to do that, you need her to not waver in her hope.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to build this character that's going to be like it's all over, because that was kind of what appealed to me in the beginning. It was kind of like, there's not a comic book that's doing this for me on that level, where it's kind of like, this is all going to shit, and this one person's like, I don't care, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep
So the book wavered for you when she started to waver? Because she had a while there where she was losing faith?
Yeah, that's exactly when
Sure. Yeah. I'm wherever it goes, I'm excited to go along with it, because for me, I love the story elements. I've had people comment in my videos in the past that they thought the book was corny, and the idea of it was corny. The whole hope thing was corny. Okay, whatever. I like it. I can buy into that. That's not me personally, but I can buy into the idea of this. That somebody carrying it to that high level. But visually, the book is, to me, is just so stunning that I can not care about the words and just look at it for the elements that is what it is visually. So
I don't take too much exception with that, but I kind of do, where it's like you want every book to be dour and gritty and all that. It's like, really, you need to diversify your comic books. I'm sorry, if you can't handle a character being hopeful in a terrible situation, then I didn't see that as corny.
Yeah, me either. Like I said, for me, I completely buy into that.
Well, also it's beyond just regular optimism in the fact that remember, she's like the last practitioner of a particular religious faith, or that was like the cornerstone of their teaching. So that adds another element to it, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
And she refocuses it in this issue, and she particularly says, "Look, I have to look forward and expect the good, because if I expect the good, that's what I'm going to get. Every time I start down this path of this sucks, this is bullshit, this is whatever, then that's what I get." So as she's stomping away from the guy who's calling her a nag, which I thought that whole conversation was kind of funny.
I like that dynamic with those two.
So do I. And I don't know, it seems pretty realistic because she is so she's so positive, and this is what we need to do to make it all happen. This is the vision. That I can relate with that being annoying too. If you're that other person who's just trying to get through the frickin' day, and you've got this person who's just this beam of sunshine, it's like, come on, leave me alone, kind of thing. So I like the dynamic also. I said I just really enjoy the comic. I mean, a lot of these Tremender comics, they just all kind of have a thing going, and they all work, partially due to the fact that he has got these stellar artists who have their own thing, their own way of delivering visually what's happening. That's just amazing. I mean, I think he's lucky in that sense, because a lot of these stories, whether it be Deadly Class or it be this, I don't know that they would be as interesting if they didn't have the talents visually on them that are on them, both color-wise and pencil.
It's not. I wouldn't boil that down to entirely luck though either. He he made a smart business move, which is that early on for the first few issues of what came out first, Deadly Class or the one with Scalera?
Black
Science.
Science was first.
Right. For the first few issues, he was keeping copyright control of those himself. But then he opened it up, he cut the artist in on it, which I think is the right thing to do just in general.
Sure.
And now he's been doing that ever since. So I think, that's attracting top talent to his projects because they're well written. They get pretty good sales numbers for indie books. And he's given co-ownership, so there's no reason not to.
Yeah.
Oh, and one more quick thing. So you guys can rest a little easier, I just looked it up, and Clean Room is selling around 64, and that's not awesome, but those kind of numbers were good enough to keep Northlanders going for a couple of years,
right?
And kept Coffin Hill going for a couple of years. So, maybe it's too soon to hit the panic button.
Yeah. But I understand what you're saying, Ryan, though, about what they've set up. That it does have some elements that allow them to
just narratively, and I looked it up quick just to make sure I wasn't giving you a bum steer on Sheriff of Babylon, Travis. 5,800 last month. So, but again, their tutorial has faith in that project big time.
Yeah.
So, on the Remender thing, am I the only one? No, Travis, I saw it in your video. Evolution.
Yep.
What do you think? If you notice on that one, he keeps copyright control himself, but not on his image books.
Right.
I love the art.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It definitely it worked really well with this style of book, the story that's being told. The mutation, the de-evolution, all of those aspects of it. I think work really well visually in the book. I think a way less challenging story. Yeah, maybe that's only because it's being told in 5 issues as opposed to his other work, which is much more challenging. I think, not in a bad way, but just giving you much more to think about in his other books, his image books versus this. But I don't know. I think this was still fun. This feels like something that could easily be evolved into a movie, kind of a thing. It has all the elements. It has all the action stuff going on there. I even like the way it ended. I like our heroine kind of, coming to terms with the fact that whether she's de-evolved or not, in some ways she realizes that she has, that the whole process of her going down this road that she's gone down, psychologically, don't you think has kind of pulled her down to a level that she really didn't ever want to go to? So.
It posed something of a moral quandary at the end, as far as when she met her mom and she offers her the choice to, but that was out of left field. It was just balls out sci-fi, post-apocalyptic action adventure. You know what it was for the first 4 issues, and even with the kind of comedy-esque wrap up at the end of this one.
Right.
It is a 2000 AD script with heavy metal art.
Yeah, exactly. The heavy metal art is what I would have said too. I just get worried that people I'm talking to online don't know I'm talking about unless they're our age. When I say heavy metal art, people our age immediately know what that is, but I don't know that people in their 20s or younger know what the hell we're talking about when we say that. But it definitely has that feel to it for sure.
Yeah, and I would say in a real sense too, Tokyo Ghost betrays a very obvious 2000 AD influence on the writing style too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it's even more unfiltered here because he's not until the last couple pages of this one, he was not really attempting to make a greater philosophical, social, or moral point.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And every issue seems to have a giant monster in it of some sort. Whether it's the overgrown radiated spider or something. I mean, it just has lots of fun elements in the thing and whatnot.
Well, I hope we see that guy, that Wayshack, on something else soon because he's good.
Yeah. I mean, at least as far as this style of book, this kind of elements and stuff, for sure. It definitely, won't be surprised to see him on, some sort of image book or whatever rolling down the road as being an artist on that type of a thing, for sure. Yeah. Any other books you want to talk about? Brandon, you got anything else you want to?
I got one more, but
okay.
All right, I'll talk about it. I don't know if anyone else picked this up. I got Weird Detective.
I did pick that up.
Did you read it?
I have not read it, but go ahead. I did pick that up though. I was the one that put it out there, and I was like,
Brandon, you want to show us a little art? I was debating on that, if you don't mind.
I'm just curious if this first issue is a reprinting of the stuff that was in the Dark Horse Presents, because I read the first opening, arc kind of a thing that exposes us to the character in that. I really liked that, and so I was hesitant to
pick a conversation with a cat.
Okay, that's enough for me to know, because I had a feeling with this one. It didn't look like my cup. But I saw it on the shelves, and I'm like, I wonder if my wife wouldn't like. And now, if there's a cat in there too, yeah, I'm gonna grab it for her next week.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like, I don't need that shit.
Just so I know, Brandon, does this have him working on a case where they find a sloughed off skin of a human in the filter of a pool?
Yes.
That's how it starts out?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's
Thousands Air Force Presents?
Okay, so the first part of the story, the very first part of that issue, up until he has the conversation with the cat, it was presented originally in little chunks in the Dark Horse Presents.
Oh, okay.
Now the rest of it will be new. The rest of it will be new story from there.
Okay.
Lots of times the Dark Presents, it's one of the reasons why I finally ended up getting rid of Dark Horse Presents, is because it would give us either the whole story or it would give us the zero issue or issue number 1 of whatever was coming. And it got to the point where almost anything that I was interested in, I read the first part of it and I hated doubling up on comics. So I just quit getting the Dark Horse Presents because I knew I was reading the first story. Generally, I have a sense of, is it something I'm going to be interested in? I'd rather just pick up the number 1 issue of just it solely than have this terribly broken up story that's in the Dark Horse Presents. Right. But at any rate, Brandon, I'll let you go ahead and continue to talk about it.
Well, I guess that makes sense because for people who were probably going, oh man, I took a $3.99 book that has mostly reprint, it's double-sized.
Oh, see, yeah.
So maybe that's... Yeah. So maybe they did that for that reason.
Yeah.
So you're getting more pages in this issue?
Yeah, it's a double-sized issue. I don't know how many pages it is, but...
I didn't know anyone else was picking that up but me, or else I would have read it before.
I picked it up on a whim at my shop.
Okay.
Because after Green Arrow was shorted, I was like, fine, I picked it up.
So, are you going to get a copy of Green Arrow?
Yeah, Reader 1717 is going to hook me up.
Oh, see, and yeah, sometimes my shop will just order an extra copy.
Well, the problem is, they said they're going to get orders, but the orders they come in will already be second prints.
Oh.
So,
well, yeah, wasn't there an article that said that like all of the ones that came out this week, except for a couple, are getting reprints already?
Yeah. Some of that.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm interrupting.
That's okay. So this book is about a detective named Sebastian Green, and basically he talks about how humans, well, I mean most people, have like they seem to think they have 5 senses, but he reduces it to 3. And he talks about how he has like tens of senses, like quite a few different senses, stuff like he can find out the frequency in which he can vibrate, like the vibration, so he can like push himself through like solid objects. He can have conversations with people just by staring at their eyes, so that's how he can talk to his cat and have conversations with his cat. So he'll be like talking about, oh yeah, you know, this is what I eat, and the cat will be like, what makes you think I care? This typical cat stuff.
The typical cat. I mean, the cat's responses are just so, you know, what you think of a cat. We as humans think of cats, you know.
Yeah, it's just like, you want a yes man, get a dog, or something like that.
Right. and isn't he quote unquote from Canada?
That's the running gag throughout the entire book.
Yes, because he's weird. He's weird in comparison to everybody else. So they're just like, oh well, you know, that's because he's from Canada. It's just, you know.
And no one ever questions it afterwards. Like, oh, okay, right. He's from Canada. That makes sense.
Oh,
I need to appreciate that.
How many issues is that running?
Sorry?
How many issues is that one running?
Boy, that hits
5.
home.
Yeah, 5 issues.
5?
Yeah.
So basically, this guy, he's had pretty much pretty steady average record leading up to his detective work. Nothing like super. He comes to work on time. He does his stuff. He leaves. Nothing super super extraordinary. And then all of a sudden he becomes a super cop out of nowhere. And they're trying to figure out how that sort of happened. So they placed him with a partner, which he doesn't want because he wants how he figures out crimes to keep to himself. He doesn't want her there. So there's that going on. And yes, there's the thing is, they played on that the Canada thing, like 6 or 7 times throughout this book.
Uh-huh.
And like by the 6th or 7th time, it's like the gag ran a little too long for me. Like they went to that well too many times. Yeah, I know.
Move here, because like I follow a little bit of hockey, but they're like, you're from here, you don't follow hockey. It's straight. I'm like, no, and I think maple syrup's okay at best.
So what you're saying is you're not really Canadian.
Yeah, I love how you don't have the accent. It's like, yeah, so everyone here sounds like they're from the South or from Boston. There aren't regional accents in other countries, just in the United States. Yeah, now I'm getting worked up. Move on.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So they find the body in the swimming pool, is basically just a lump of skin and hair. There's no muscles, no bones, no anything like that, no organs. But they run to a second case where this guy and a girl just in this like an abandoned apartment, and one of them goes to use the washroom, and all you hear is these loud noises, and well, the toilet eats him pretty much.
Oh,
street trash. It's street trash. So they obviously linked both events together. Like, okay, there's something attacking them or whatever, and we're trying to figure out what it is. Later on, we find out. Well, I don't know how much I want to spoil. That's a problem.
No, go ahead. I mean, I'm probably gonna read it after the round table.
Okay, well, so we find out. What?
Go ahead, Brent.
No, what do you say?
Did you enjoy the book?
I enjoyed it for the most part, except 2 things. One thing I didn't like was just that gag. I think what lasted too long, but also I think a lot of the book was spent on him explaining how his senses work.
Uh-huh.
And it was a lot of like techno jargon stuff that like, and it was like I'm not the smartest person in the world, so I'm kind of like going cross-eyed a little bit, reading some of it. But once I got past that, I thought it was a pretty fun book.
Does it snow year-round there for real? Do you guys have mayonnaise on everything?
I just knew that CDC would love that.
It's the worst, though. I bet it's weird having hot weather around here, isn't it? No.
There are beaches in Canada? What?
Have you seen lawn before? It's just...
you're killing me.
It's a third world country, yeah.
Like, okay, so I didn't think the Canadian stuff was that bad when I read it, but then I'm not sensitive to that sort of thing. So
No, but I'm also reading double the issue too at once.
Right.
So maybe that's also a factor.
Sure.
Anyway, the end of this book ends. The partner of Sebastian Green holds a stakeout to see exactly what he does, and he obviously knows she's there because he's got all those senses and whatnot, and he basically leads her right into a trap and says that, you know, I have nothing against you, but I can't have you go against what I want to do. And I don't really want to explain what he wants to do because that'd be a huge spoiler for CC.
Right.
There's another aspect to it, so I'm not going to say it. But I enjoyed it. And it's Fred Van Lente who writes it, by the way, if anyone didn't know.
I'm going to grab that for my wife tomorrow. I think she'll like it. And you can tell anyone bad-mouthing Canada that you guys have some very fine comic shops up there.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Compared to here,
when I was up there for like 6 months, Strange Adventures kept me going.
Oh, okay.
Out Halifax and up in they had one up in St. John's too.
Yeah.
Yep.
You mean when you walked through the snow to get them, right?
Yeah.
No, I was No, you know, I would just ride on a sled.
Yeah.
Fending off the
good
moose.
weather.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lord. Oh.
I have one quick one. I promise to make it quick, but I don't know if anyone else Spire.
Oh.
Last issue.
Yeah, I haven't been reading that. How's it been?
Super book. Super book. I'll try to show you some of the interior art quick. This is Simon Spurrier on the script. He's the guy who's doing Cry Havoc and Weavers. That's another one he's got going. And Cross Plus 100. He took over Cross Plus 100 after more 6 issues. He's a really good writer. This has been an Eisner Award nominee for Best Limited Series. The art's by a guy named Jeff Stokely, who has a terrific sort of cartoonish style. But if you like John, he did, you know, we talk about world building and stuff. He did a terrific job coming up with a really thought-through world with a lot of different interesting characters. Very satisfactory conclusion. That was one of those series that built with every issue. There was a mystery story at the heart of it. And it built with every issue and kept the momentum going and then wrapped up really nicely at the end. If they come out with a reasonably priced trade for the Spire, I would suggest any of you guys that would definitely be worth reading.
Cool.
I read the first 3 issues of that, and I think I have the last 5 just still waiting for me to pick up. Because I don't know why I just never got around to picking them up again, but yeah, I have them. Just.
Yeah, it's a very immersive setup where the details of the society and how things operate, he's really thought through, and he's a pretty talented guy. I mean, I could have sworn I saw you guys talking about Weavers the other week. Some of you were on that, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
and
definitely.
Everybody that's been reading it has enjoyed Cry Havoc to a certain degree or other. So this is one that is not cut short. You know, it saw it all the way through its 8-issue run, because I know that Cry Havoc they're wrapping up quick, and Weavers was solicited ongoing and then cut down to 6. So and Cross Plus 100's canceled within the issue or 2 here. So some of his projects seem to be a bit snake bit on the sales front. But the Spire kept all the way through to 8. There were some delays, some big delays in the last couple issues. But I think anybody who'd be willing to give this a go, who wants a really good standalone story set in its own world with its own kind of rules and characters that follows a really internal logic and then enjoys a mystery story on top of it, this would be a really good recommendation.
And that's Boom Studios, right?
Yeah, that was Boom Studios.
Yeah. Cool. Any other books you want to talk about?
I think I'm good.
All right. Any news on this front that we think we need to discuss? I can't think of anything offhand.
Sure can.
Cool. Well, we're gonna call it a night then. Appreciate you guys coming on and talking books.
Thanks for having us.
Anytime. And I mean, clearly there's a whole slew of books coming out next week. I haven't really looked to see what there is that's the burning thing to read or whatever, but I'm sure there'll be something. Any other parting words we want to say before we call it a night?
If your comic book's on fire, put it down.
Oh, that's a good thought.
Happy Father's Day to any dads out there.
Oh yes, certainly happy Father's Day to all of them.
My thought was similar to Mike's. If my shop doesn't have Wonder Woman, I'm setting it on fire.
Oh,
There you go.
there you go.
Oh, that'll be a #1 coming out this week.
I don't know. That's been pretty crazy, and I know that Brandon's been having a problem getting books. It sounds like Mike, to some degree, has been having problems with getting some of the DC books. It boggles my mind that the shops didn't over-order by a lot, because my understanding is they have a take-back policy right now anyway. See, so all you're committed to is shelf space, right? Which I know is a premium in a comic book shop, to try and put stuff on the shelf. But I've just been seeing lots of people talking about their shops not having enough of books for them. So
who told you that there were returnables on those first issues of these rebirths?
That's just I can't remember where I read that at, but that's been my understanding is that that's what they were giving to start out with anyway.
Okay, well they must be. I hadn't heard that, but it's extremely rare. Marvel hasn't done a returnable in years.
Well, DC did the returnable with the New 52 as the last time DC did it.
Yeah,
I believe, and I think that basically they were going to the same thing. We're putting our money.
It'll be very curious to see. I know that from everything I've picked up from, individual shop owners who are talking on YouTube and Twitter and stuff, is so far the big surprise hit really was Green Arrow and Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Lights out.
Well, I'm confused on the Wonder Woman. The Wonder Woman to me just seems like a gimme. If you have any interest whatsoever in the character, and the creators, carry lots of weight, themselves, to me it falls into the same category of like Saga, quite frankly. With the creators that were on that book, I don't understand why people didn't realize that was going to be a popular book. I don't know. To me, it just seems like when you get Greg Rucka, Nicholas Scott, and then Lehman on the book, how would it not be a big seller? I don't know.
Well, you could take, let's say you're a shop owner, you will double your orders for what Wonder Woman is right now. Mm-hmm. And that might seem like a lot, but it could still not be enough, because sales had kind of tanked with the Finches. You say, okay, I'll order double that, and then you still find yourself running out. And the same is true with Green Arrow. You could say, well, these are essentially the same people working the book. What the hell? It's a #1. I'll double my order, and suddenly you find out that's not enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I mean, clearly I'm not in retail, so I don't know exactly how that works and whatnot. It just surprises me. Like how many? There are lots of places. It wasn't like it was one or two places. Like
all over the place.
Clearly, Mike and Brandon do not make up the majority of comic book shops across the world. But I mean, I follow 700 people on Twitter, and 3/4 of those are other comic book fans, and lots of them were talking about the fact that they were scrambling to try and find books because their typical shops weren't getting everything. Just surprises me. Which is a good thing, I guess. I mean, there are the people who are, of course, down on the whole thing because it's cool to pick on, DC, but they just say, oh, well, this is exactly like the New 52. It started out great and then goes to hell, and we'll see, I guess.
It's possible. The industry needs a big June because May was, even with the Rebirth special sold Lights Out, that was a #1 title for May, but industry-wide, they were still down 1 million comics compared to last May.
Yeah.
So they need a big June.
So hopefully so. Hopefully this is another one of those things that gets people just recharged to coming back to comics
and sticking around
in general, and then sticking around, whether it be DC or all the other wonderful stuff that's out there. It doesn't matter. Hopefully it's an introduction to more people reading books for sure. And with that, I will we'll call it a night. Like I said, once again, thank you guys for coming on and talking books
Thank
with
you.
me. Always appreciated. Anybody who watches this along the way that's been watching throughout the night, appreciate you guys watching. And anybody who watches in the future, thank you very much for watching. And I'm sure I'll at least be back next week. We'll see who else is back. Have a great one, everybody.
week, everyone.